Chapter 31, Chapter 31. When darkness descends. Satria goes back to the DXD world, his foot crunching softly against the familiar ground. Sit there, awaiting him, were two breathtakingly beautiful women, Kiyohime, her delicate features framed by flowing hair, and Valyana, her piercing gaze filled with mischief. Satria groaned inwardly. How the hell did my life turn out like this? Fatalis, since you met the famous truck kun. Seated comfortably between Kiyohime and Valyana, Satria couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Despite his efforts to keep things low-key, his life seemed determined to thrust him into absurdly dramatic situations. Kiyohime clung to his arm, her head resting on his shoulder as she smiled dreamily. My Dana-sama, you've worked so hard. Why not let me pamper you today? Valyana smirked, tracing a finger along his other arm. Don't let her hog all the attention, Satria. I'm here too, you know. Satria groaned softly, though a mischievous smirk tugged at his lips. If I didn't know better, I'd think you two were plotting against me. Kiyohime pouted. Plotting? Against you? Never. Valyana chuckled, leaning closer. And if we were, what would you do about it? Satria turned his attention to the screen, watching Issei's duel with Riser Phoenix. The sight brought memories rushing back of their intense, whirlwind training session just days prior. Flashback. 3 days earlier, Issei stood in the forest near Kuah Academy, drenched in sweat. Before him, Satria loomed like an unyielding wall, holding a handful of small stones. You need more than raw power to win, Issei, Satria began, his tone sharp but instructive. Strength without control is meaningless. Precision, discipline, and strategy, that's what separates victors from losers. Issei wiped his brow nervously. What's with the stones? Satria smirked, his hand beginning to vibrate ominously. Dodge them, or I'll make you regret it. Balance breaker or not, this will hurt. Before Issei could protest, Satria hurled the first stone with the speed of light. It slammed into Issei's armor, shattering a portion of it. What the? Issei gasped, clutching his stomach. How is a mere stone piercing my armor? Drake roared in disbelief. Satria's voice remained calm, almost clinical. At high velocity, even a stone can carry the force of a meteor. It's basic physics, mass energy equivalence. Now, stand up. Gritting his teeth, Issei rose. Promotion, Rook, he declared. Hours passed. Issei's body was covered in bruises, but his resolve remained unbroken. Stone after stone slammed into him, and he failed time and again to dodge or deflect them. Finally, as Satria prepared to launch another, Issei shouted, Boost! Boost! 15x, dot! With a roar, Issei punched the stone mid-air, shattering it into fragments. He turned triumphantly, only for another stone to slam into his back. Aghh! Satria stood over him, arms crossed. Remember this, Issei, strength alone isn't enough. A wise fighter listens, observes, and strategizes. Learn to read your enemy. Foolish bravery will only get you killed. The sun bathed Satria in a golden glow, his presence almost divine. Why do I feel drawn to him? Drake murmured. I know, right? Issei thought, momentarily distracted by awe. Flashback end. On screen Issei POV. The present roared back into focus as Issei activated his balance breaker. Welsh Dragon, over booster. Rias gasped. How? Since when? Issei smirked at her reaction but kept his focus on Riser. Get ready, chicken boy. Riser launched forward, flames swirling around his fists. Issei sidestepped with a speed that left an afterimage, his phantom clone confusing Riser. What the? Riser growled, swinging wildly. From behind, Issei slammed a holy water-coated fist into Riser's back. Riser howled, stumbling forward. Holy water! You dare! Issei didn't relent. He grabbed Riser by the collar and unleashed a flurry of blows, each one imbued with precision and raw determination. Pinned to the ground, his face bloodied, Riser glared up at Issei. You insolent! Shut up, Issei growled. I'm the strongest pawn of Rias Gremory. Remember it, fried chicken. With one final, devastating punch, Issei knocked Riser unconscious. The winner of the rating game is Rias Gremory. Ravel rushed forward, shielding her brother. That's enough. Don't hurt him anymore. Issei stepped back, breathing heavily, a victorious grin on his face. In the audience, Surtsk's Lucifer and his peerage leaned forward, intrigued. Well, well. This Red Dragon Emperor is full of surprises. Okada Tsuji nodded. He never showed this level of skill during our training. Where did he learn this? Wherever it was, Surtsk said with a smirk, he just might be the one to surpass all expectations. Watching Issei land blow after blow on Riser, Satria smirked. Looks like the idiot actually learned something from our training, he muttered, leaning back into his seat. Kiyohime tilted her head, curious. Did you have something to do with this, Danasama? Satria chuckled, pulling her closer. Maybe. But don't tell him I'm proud, his ego might explode. Valyana laughed. You're such a tease, hubby. Fatalis, though you'd never admit it, you've got a soft spot for that pawn of Rias Gremory. Admit it, bearer, you like playing mentor. Satria ignored her, his eyes fixed on the screen as Issei's fist connected with Riser's face, sending the arrogant phoenix sprawling to the ground. Good job, idiot, Satria muttered under his breath, a satisfied grin spreading across his face. That night, the atmosphere in Satria's house shifted dramatically as Kiyohime and Valyana show up in front of him, dressed in sultry, alluring outfits that left little to the imagination. Their presence alone was enough to send a shiver down Satria's spine, but the mischievous looks in their eyes promised nothing short of trouble. Satria blinked, caught completely off guard. Wait, what's with the outfits? And why are you two looking at me like that? Kiyohime wore a silky, light blue kimono-like robe that barely clung to her shoulders, its fabric sheer enough to tease the curves underneath. The sash holding it together seemed intentionally loose, threatening to unravel with the slightest motion. Her delicate feet were adorned with ankle bells that jingled faintly as she walked toward him. The sight of her smooth, pale skin and the playful smile on her lips made Satria's face go crimson. Valyana, on the other hand, opted for a bold black lace ensemble that hugged her figure perfectly. The intricate patterns left just enough to the imagination, while the high slit on her dress revealed her long, toned legs with every step she took. Her sharp eyes were filled with mischief as she approached him, the sheer confidence in her stride making his throat go dry. Isn't it a bit too cold to dress like that? Satria stammered, taking an instinctive step back, his ears burning. Kiyohime giggled softly, twirling a strand of her long hair. Oh, my dear husband, are you worried about us catching a chill? How sweet! But I think you should be more concerned about yourself right now. Valyana leaned in slightly, her ruby-red lips curving into a smirk. You're adorable when you blush. Is this the first time you've had girls this close to you? Satria's face flushed crimson, and he instinctively took a step back. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on a second. We're not officially married. I can't just. You know. That's forbidden. Both women giggled, finding his panicked reaction utterly adorable. Kiyohime tilted her head, her voice dripping with playful sarcasm. Oh, is that what's bothering you, my dearest? Don't worry. We've taken care of everything. Valyana smirked, pulling a pair of neatly prepared documents from behind her back and holding them out triumphantly. Here. A marriage certificate. All we need is your signature, and it's official. Satria stared at the papers in disbelief. Wait. You're serious? You already? How? When did you even? Valyana leaned closer, her voice soft yet teasing. Don't worry about the details, love. I've handled everything, including the technicalities. Kiyohime gently took his hand, her expression surprisingly sweet. Come on, husband. Just sign here, and we'll officially be a family. Isn't that what you want? Satria hesitated, his heart racing as he looked between the two of them. The soft warmth in Kiyohime's smile and the confident reassurance in Valyana's gaze made it impossible to say no. With a resigned sigh, he picked up the pen. Fine. But only because I don't want you two holding this over my head later, he muttered, scribbling his signature on the paper. The moment the ink dried, Kiyohime and Valyana exchanged victorious smiles. Valyana grinned. Good boy. Now, we're officially a family. She leaned closer, whispering in his ear. And thank you for the meal. Before Satria could question her choice of words, both women grabbed his arms and playfully dragged him toward the massive king-sized bed. When dawn broke, Satria lay sprawled across the bed, his expression a mix of happiness and disbelief. Kiyohime was curled up on his left, looking as serene as an angel, while Valyana rested on his right, her satisfied smirk still visible even in her sleep. Satria groaned, covering his face with a pillow. What even is my life anymore? From beside him, Kiyohime stirred, her voice soft yet teasing. Good morning, Dana-sama. Did you sleep well? Valyana stretched lazily, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Or should I ask, did we keep you up too much? Satria leaned back on the plush bed, one hand lazily tracing over Valyana's toned abs. Her flawless skin felt smooth under his fingertips, the faint ripple of her muscles evident as she flexed slightly under his touch. You know, he said, his voice soft but teasing, I really love when my girls have strong, fit bodies like yours. It makes me feel protected. His lips curled into a mischievous grin as he glanced between Kiyohime and Valyana. Valyana raised an eyebrow, a sly smile on her face. Oh? So, the great Satria likes being protected, does he? How adorable! Kiyohime leaned closer, her fingers brushing his cheek as her gaze softened. Phew phew phew. Of course, we know. Not to mention, you're such a spoiled little puppy sometimes, always wanting our attention. Wait, what? Satria's playful demeanor immediately crumbled, his eyes widening as he sat up, flustered. Valyana chuckled, resting her chin on her hand as she looked at him with mock innocence. Oh, come on. It suits you perfectly. You pout, you demand attention, and you're too cute for your own good. Kiyohime joined in, her laugh like a melody. Indeed, Dana-sama. You're our adorable little puppy. It's part of your charm, after all. Satria crossed his arms, his face flushed. TCH, stupid. No one respects me in this household. His lips formed an exaggerated pout, making him look even more endearing. The two women exchanged amused glances before leaning in closer to console him, their tones warm and affectionate. There, Kiyohime cooed, running her fingers through his hair like a doting mother. You're still our special, irreplaceable husband, no matter what. Valyana placed a gentle hand on his cheek, tilting his head toward her. Exactly. Don't sulk. We might tease, but you're the most important person in our lives. And we wouldn't have you any other way. Despite himself, Satria felt his irritation melt away under their affectionate gestures. He grumbled under his breath but didn't pull away, his heart warming at the genuine care in their words. Fine, he muttered, leaning back with a small smirk. But don't think I'll let you off easy next time. Valyana and Kiyohime exchanged a knowing smile. Whatever you say, puppy, they said in unison, earning another groan from their beloved. Satria sat on the couch, strumming his acoustic guitar with a calm rhythm as his soothing voice filled the room. Kita bikin romantis. Bikin paling romantis. Fatalis, sambal gandeng gantangan, hatai pelikan di angan siatu. Fatalis bobbed her head in rhythm, occasionally humming along. The ancient dragon, amused by Satria's hobby, decided to support him by harmonizing in her mystical tone. Satria chuckled. Not bad, hey? Maybe we should start a band. Fatalis and the Flash has a nice ring to it, right? Fatalis, only if I get top billing, he he he. Just as they hit the chorus, Valyana burst into the room, her step clicking against the floor with urgency. She grabbed the remote and turned on the television, where a news report blared, showcasing shaky footage of an armored figure speeding through the streets in a flash of black and white light. Hubby, Valyana said, her voice carrying a mix of disbelief and frustration. She crossed her arms and raised an eyebrow at him. Are you the one they're calling Black Flash? Satria froze, his hand halting on the strings mid-strum. His eyes darted nervously to the screen, which showed a dramatic slow-motion replay of a collision involving the mysterious figure and a young woman. The report continued, claiming the girl had not only survived but had been miraculously resurrected, leading to chaos in both the human and supernatural worlds. Satria laughed awkwardly, scratching the back of his neck. Incident, dear. Total accident, I swear. Valyana's eyes narrowed. Incident? You bumped into a college girl at supersonic speed and resurrected her. Do you have any idea the uproar this caused? Azazel himself is mobilizing the slash dogs and me to hunt you down. From across the room, Kiyohime joined the conversation, her tone filled with exasperation. Of course, he would. How did it even get this far? Satria sighed, setting down his guitar. Okay, let me explain. So, it started when I wanted to test this new ability of mine, pushing my limits. But I kind of underestimated how fast I could go. Before I knew it, boom. I lost control, collided with the poor girl, and well, resurrected her as a reflex. Kiyohime and Valyana groaned in unison, pinching the bridges of their noses. Valyana glared at him, though there was a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. Hubby, only you could accidentally turn a normal test into an international incident. Kiyohime shook her head. We can't leave you unsupervised, can we? Fatalis, honestly, I don't know whether to be proud or concerned. You've managed to make both humans and supernatural beings scramble because you can't control your powers. Satria raised his hands defensively. Hey, it's not like I meant to become a wanted fugitive. Can't we just call it, practice gone wrong? Valyana sighed, sitting beside him. Well, practice or not, you've painted a giant target on your back. Let's hope the next time you experiment, it doesn't involve the entire supernatural community. Satria nodded sheepishly. Noted. No more experimenting, in public. Kiyohime crossed her arms, giving him a stern look. You'd better not. Otherwise, I'll tie you up and keep you from moving altogether. Despite the scolding, Satria chuckled. You two truly know how to keep me grounded. Valyana rolled her eyes but smiled. Someone has to. He then checked out Dimensional Chat and noticed Kurumi in the middle of a heated argument with Batman Jr. ________________________ Spider-Man, careful with your words, please. You're going to scare the newcomers. Evil Spirit, Peter Parker-chan, I suggest you don't interrupt. Otherwise, I'll eat you. Spider-Man. Batman Jr., you think I'm scared, you killer? We don't have the right to decide life and death. We're not judges or executioners. Ding! God of Hope has logged in. God of Hope, hello, everyone. What's going on? Evil Spirit, oh, perfect timing, God. This little bat at Junior has some ridiculous idealism. He says we shouldn't kill our enemies, even if they're actively trying to kill us. No wonder villains in his world keep escaping without fear. What do you think about this? God of Hope, that's an interesting perspective. But first, can you explain how your world operates, at Junior? Batman Jr., okay, I'll simplify. In my world, we face all kinds of threats: villains, criminals, magic, aliens, you name it. Heroes like me work tirelessly to protect it. But we follow a strict moral code: no killing. It's what separates us from the villains. Ice Sadist, your world sounds fun better than mine. At least there are people who can fight me on equal footing. God of Hope, it's similar to my current world in some ways. But where I'm now, heroes will kill if there's no other choice. Spider-Man, wait, hold up. You're a hero too, at God? Are you like Thor, the god of thunder in my world's Avengers? Shin, I'm curious too, at God. Can you tell us about your world? God of Hope, ever heard of a hero named Patronus, at Spider? Spider-Man, nope, doesn't ring a bell. God of Hope, I thought so. My guess was right. I'm from a different universe. But in mine, I'm a member of the Avengers, and you know me there, at Spider. King of Knights, what is an Avenger? And how can a god be a hero? Shin, in Spider-Man's world, having gods as heroes is normal. The threats aren't just from Earth, at King, but from outer space too. Avengers is a team of Earth's mightiest heroes. God of Hope, that's right. Too many lunatics here with dreams of world domination. Spider-Man, really? Then the multiverse is real. God of Hope, it is. As for at Junior's idealism, I respect it, but sometimes hard decisions must be made. Think about your family. What if a villain threatened them? Or your world's future? Some people can't change. Ultimately, though, the decision is yours, and I respect that. King of Knights, well said, at God. You're surprisingly humble for someone who calls themselves a god. Spider-Man, I second that. Much respect, at God. God of Hope, thanks, but just so you know, I only recently ascended. Don't call me sir, it makes me feel old. I'm just 23. King of Knights, wait, what? How does a human ascend to godhood at such a young age? Care to explain? God of Hope, another time, at King. Speaking of which, could I ask you about your history later? King of Knights, sure. Why are you interested in my life? God of Hope, my girlfriend's an archaeologist. She idolizes you and is obsessed with your history. King of Knights, all right. But in exchange, I want to hear your story too. God of Hope, deal. Underscore 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 underscore. Satria closed the chat with a frown. Who the hell is Patronus? Fatalis, search my memory for any mention of a Marvel character with that name. Fatalis, nothing, brother. I can't find anything about him. Satria scratched his head. I don't remember a God of Hope or a Patronus in the Avengers either. Maybe it's an alternate universe or reincarnated thing. Either way, I need to learn more about this guy. Underscore 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 underscore. Ding. Kazuma-sama has logged in. Kazuma-sama, hey, everyone. The great Kazuma-sama is here and ready for anything. Shin, wow, it's rare to see you this energetic. What happened, Lolizuma? Kazuma-sama, don't call me Lolizuma, you bastard. And for your information, I recently bought a mansion. Thanks to Jiraiya's book sales being a huge success, I no longer have to sleep in stables. I'm finally living the dream and dedicating myself to becoming a pro NEET. Oh, and that pervert, here's a gift for your research. Kazuma-sama has gifted pervert sage. God of Hope. Spider-Man. Batman Jr. Shin. Pervert sage, as expected of Kazuma, only a true connoisseur can recognize the value of true art. Men like us must stick together. King of Night, you're both disgusting. Ice sadist, looks like some people are asking to be punished. Evil spirit, not only are you a lolicon, but a shameless pervert too, like pervert sage. I'm upgrading your title to Trash Zuma. Pervert sage, hey, I'm not a pervert, I'm a super pervert. Evil spirit. King of Knights, idiots like you need discipline. If we ever meet, prepare for your punishment. Pervert sage. Kazuma-sama. Suddenly, Spider-Man broke the silence. Spider-Man, guys, help me. A giant gate just appeared in New York, and monsters are pouring out of it. Ding! Group quest activated. Anomaly detected. Stop the invasion of the Burning Legion and destroy the portal connecting the two worlds. Participants required, 4. Note, time will be frozen in each participant's world during the mission. Underscore. Satria froze, his mind racing. How the hell is the Burning Legion showing up in New York? This is bad. Very bad. Fatalis, so, are we joining the mission? Satria clenched his fists. Of course, we are. To be continued. Chapter 32, Chapter 32. Battle for the Burning City. A blinding light enveloped Satria, and when it faded, he found himself in an unfamiliar place. Standing before him were three distinct figures. The first, a white-haired man with an air of mischief, was none other than the self-proclaimed super pervert, Jiraiya. The second, a regal blonde woman in kingly attire, exuded nobility and strength, Artoria Pendragon, the king of Camelot. The last, a hooded figure clad in garb reminiscent of the Assassin's Creed, was the enigmatic god of hope. Satria stepped forward and greeted them. Hello. Are you the god of hope and king of knights? Both nodded. Nice to meet you. I'm Shin, or as you know me, the admin of the dimensional chat. Satria introduced himself with a calm smile. Would you mind introducing yourselves as well? Artoria spoke first, her voice carrying the weight of authority. You may already know who I am. My name is Artoria Pendragon, king of Camelot. It's a pleasure to meet you, Shin. Next, the hooded figure spoke. You can call me Patroness. Satria raised an eyebrow. Patroness, hey? Excuse me for asking, but are you an assassin? Or should I call you a member of the Hidden Ones? Patroness flinched slightly, his surprise barely masked. That's accurate, he replied after a pause. Jiraiya leaned in, his curiosity piqued. Hidden Ones? What's that? Satria explained, the Hidden Ones are assassins who protect humanity from the shadows. They ensure freedom and keep humanity's progress on track. Think of them as ninjas, but with a broader mission and a different philosophy. Patroness's POV. How does he know about the Hidden Ones? That's supposed to be a secret organization. Who exactly is this young man? Patroness mused, keeping a wary eye on Shin. Maybe he's like those reincarnation stories I've read online. We could just be fictional characters in his world, the nine-tailed fox within him suggested, sounding overly excited. The one-tailed tanuki snorted. Stop overthinking, you internet-addicted fool. Who are you calling a fool, you rat? The five-tailed horse-dolphin hybrid sighed, silencing her siblings. Enough. Just observe. This Shin is no ordinary individual, but it's too soon to draw conclusions. Patroness nodded inwardly, his focus returning to Satria. This young man. His gaze is sharp, calculated. Like a predator watching its prey. He's definitely trained like us. Patroness broke the silence with a smile, applauding Shin. Impressive. You seem to understand the hidden ones well. And he turned to Artoria, taking her hand gently. Your Majesty, may I say your beauty is unmatched? Perhaps after this mission, we could get to know each other better. Artoria's face turned a deep red as she stammered. What? My beauty? She looked away, flustered. Fine, but don't call me your Majesty. Just Artoria or Saber. Patroness nodded, his tone smooth. As you wish, Artoria. Jiraiya, observing the exchange, scribbled furiously into his notebook. Satria watched the scene unfold and couldn't help but sweat drop. Wow, this guy works fast. Impressive. Fatalis, be careful, my brother. This Patroness carries 9 beasts within him, each of them has great power. I can't recognize them all, but they are very powerful. Satria smirked slightly. Good. Let's see what he's made of. He opened the dimensional chat to check in on Spider-Man. ____________________ Shin, at Spider, where are you? We've arrived in your world. Spider-Man, I'm evacuating my family and others to safety outside the city. There are too many monsters, and I can't handle them all alone. The gate, it's massive. We need to destroy it, but Baopan and I have no idea how. Batman Jr., so, do you guys have a plan to close the gate? Shin, unfortunately, I'm no sealing expert. This is out of my area of expertise. Kazuma-sama, great. This is just perfect. Shin, Peter, where are the Avengers? Spider-Man, Mr. Stark is discussing options with the government. Their idea? Drop a nuke on New York. Robin Jr., are they insane? Typical government nonsense. Shin, alright, let's regroup and come up with a plan before heading into battle. Ice Sadist, can you open the live stream? I want to see the action up close. Shin has started live streaming. Shin, Spider, can you rendezvous at this location? Shin has shared his coordinates. Spider-Man, on my way, guys. Underscore 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 underscore. Peter POV. The situation in New York was pure chaos. Peter Parker sat in an evacuation tent outside the city, now under strict quarantine by US soldiers. Inside the tent were Aunt May, Gwen Stacy, and Baopan Sith, all trying to process the unfolding nightmare. Peter, however, sat in silence, his face clouded with guilt. He couldn't erase the horrifying images from his mind: innocent men, women, and children transformed into grotesque undead creatures by the invading forces. His hesitation to kill his enemies had cost lives, and the weight of his perceived failure bore down on him like a crushing tide. Peter, are you okay? Gwen's gentle voice broke the silence. She knelt beside him, her eyes filled with concern. Peter shook his head, his voice barely above a whisper. I failed, as a hero. I couldn't save them. His hands clenched into fists as he relived the moments when his refusal to take a life led to others losing theirs. Aunt May, ever the nurturing figure, placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. No, Peter, you're not a failure. You're a kind boy who's always done his best to save people. That's what makes you a true hero. Gwen, sitting closer now, cupped his face gently, her forehead touching his. Your aunt's right, Peter. You've saved so many lives. Please, stop blaming yourself. You're not alone in this. But Peter's guilt ran deep. No. I am a failure. If I wasn't such a coward, maybe they'd still be alive. His voice cracked with self-loathing. Suddenly, a sharp slap rang through the tent. Baopan Sith had struck Peter's cheek, but before he could react, she pulled him into a firm embrace. "Stop speaking nonsense, you dolt," she said sternly, her arms tightening around him. "You're the hero everyone needs, and my proud idiot. Never forget that." Her words caught Peter off guard, but they hit him where it mattered most. Baopan knew how kind and selfless he was, how he would sacrifice everything to protect others without hesitation. It was his strength, but also his greatest vulnerability. Peter's tension eased, and he returned the hug. "Thank you, Baopan," he said softly. Pulling away, he donned his mask once more, his resolve hardening. "I have to go back. There are still people out there who need me." Aunt May's voice trembled as she stood. "Peter, no. It's too dangerous. You can't go back out there. I forbid it." Gwen stepped forward, gently holding May's hands. "It's okay, Aunt May. Baopan will be with him. She'll protect him. I promise." May's gaze shifted between Gwen and Baopan. For a long moment, she hesitated, then sighed in resignation. "Fine. I'll trust you, Baopan. Please, keep my boy safe." Baopan smiled confidently. "Leave it to me, mother-in-law." She turned to Peter with a teasing grin. "Come on, master. Let's go save the world." Peter and Baopan left the tent, heading toward the gathering point where the dimensional chat members were waiting. As the tent's flaps closed behind them, May let out a heavy sigh. She turned to Gwen with a curious look. "They're such an odd couple," she murmured. Then, after a pause, her brow furrowed. "By the way, Gwen, what exactly is your relationship with Peter? I thought he was dating her." Gwen froze at the unexpected question, her cheeks turning crimson. "We share him, Aunt May." Silence fell over the tent like a thunderclap. "Hey!" Aunt May's stunned expression said it all. New York, United States. The city was unrecognizable, a chaotic hellscape overrun by grotesque monsters and twisted abominations. From the rooftop of a tall building, 4 figures stood silently, taking in the horrifying scene below. "What is this?" Satria's voice broke the silence, his eyes scanning the carnage. "There are too many monsters and undead surrounding the city. We need to act now. We can't let them escape and spread the chaos to other cities." Below, the streets were a battlefield. Creatures slaughtered innocents with ruthless efficiency. Necromancer-like beings twisted fallen humans into their monstrous army, their laughter echoing through the city. The other 3 members of the group stood frozen for a moment, their battlefield experience struggling to process the scale of this massacre. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." The voice of Patronus snapped them out of their shock as dozens, then hundreds, of clones appeared around him in a seamless wave of shadow and light. The sight left Satria and Jiraiya speechless. "You can use ninjutsu? How?" Satria demanded, his voice tinged with confusion. Without pausing to explain, Patronus turned to his clones. 4 of you, create the 4 red yang formation. The rest of you, evacuate civilians and destroy as many monsters as you can. Move." "Yes, boss," the clones chorused, vanishing into action. Moments later, a massive red barrier appeared, encasing the entire city in its glow. Satria stared in disbelief at the barrier. This is the Shinsekai-jin." "Impossible." Jiraiya nodded, his expression equally shocked. Creating a barrier this large usually takes 4 shinobi with Hokage-level strength. But he did it alone with his clones. Artoria's eyes narrowed. "They aren't illusions," she said softly, her voice laced with wonder. "They're solid clones. This isn't magic, but something else entirely." Before they could delve deeper into the mystery, the sound of a web snapping against metal caught their attention. Swinging through the air on strands of webbing was a familiar figure in red and blue. A second figure, this one pale, red-haired and winged, flew gracefully beside him. "Peter!" Satria waved. Spider-Man landed with a flip, followed by the winged Baopon Sith. Hey, Shin! Uncle Jiraiya! King of Night! God of Hope! Welcome to New York though, not the best time for sightseeing. Peter's tone was light, but the strain in his voice betrayed him. Jiraiya, ever himself, grinned at Baopon. Well, hello there. And who might this lovely lady be? Before Baopon could answer, Artoria delivered a swift punch, sending Jiraiya's face into the rooftop floor. Control yourself, pervert. Baopon stepped back. Stay away from me, she said sharply, sensing the old man's intentions. Ugh! You're so strong like her, Jiraiya groaned, pulling himself from the rubble, the blonde king reminding him of Tsunade. Patronus stepped forward, cutting through the banter. Focus! Do you have intel on the enemies we're facing? Satria took a deep breath, his tone grim. What you see here is only a fragment of the Burning Legion. They're a dark force created by Sargeras, a fallen titan. Their sole purpose is to purge all life in every world they invade. Sargeras. Patronus frowned. I've never heard of any titan by that name. You wouldn't have, Satria said. This threat is from beyond this world. What we need to figure out is how they got here. Artoria gripped her sword tightly. What's the plan? We divide and conquer, Patronus said, his voice calm yet commanding. Shin, Jiraiya, and Artoria will head for the portal and seal it or destroy it. I'll work on evacuating civilians with Peter and his girlfriend before back up you guys. Reaching into his cloak, Patronus handed each member a kunai marked with strange runes. If things get dangerous, throw this. I'll come to you immediately. Got it. Satria POV. Satria watched Patronus silently as the group descended into the chaos. That guy. How does he use ninjutsu and live in the Marvel world? Is he perhaps the same as me? Fatalis, it's baffling, and that barrier it's on par with feats I've only seen in anime. The musings were cut short as a wave of abominations lunged toward Satria. Without hesitation, he activated Fatalis's powers combined with the Speed Force energy, his form blurring into motion as he sliced through his enemies with dark energy and blinding speed. Up ahead, he spotted four figures locked in combat, members of the Fantastic Four. Johnny Storm's fiery form darted through the sky, hurling flames at the encroaching monsters. These guys just keep coming. Less complaining, more fighting, Johnny. Sue Storm shouted, her force fields flickering as she protected her team. One of the monsters broke through her shield, lunging at Johnny from behind. Dark Flash Lance. A streak of dark lightning struck the creature mid-air, disintegrating it instantly. Johnny turned, stunned. Whoa! Thanks, whoever you are. Satria stepped into view, his black armor gleaming ominously. Save your thanks for later. We have a battle to win. Sue offered a nod of gratitude. Agreed. Let's focus on survival first. Ben Grimm cracked his knuckles with a grin. Finally, someone who gets it. Satria leapt into the fray, moving with inhuman speed as he teamed up with the Fantastic Four. The battlefield roared with chaos, but he fought with relentless precision, a dark blur cutting through the monstrous tide. To be continued. Chapter 33, Chapter 33. Rise Against the Darkness. New York, United States. Peter Parker and Baopon Sith were making their way home through a city ravaged by chaos. The streets were a battlefield, swarming with creatures that had no place in this world. Their movements were a symphony of precision and destruction, a dance between spider-like agility and vampiric grace. A horde of winged, bat-like creatures with razor-sharp teeth descended from above. Known as gargoyles, these predators were relentless. Peter, unflinching, pulled a peculiar pen with a glowing stone embedded in its center from his pocket. With swift strokes, he sketched a weapon in the air. In moments, the pen's energy crystallized into a sleek laser handgun. He gripped it tightly, aiming at the advancing enemies. With pinpoint accuracy, Peter fired, blasting the creatures out of the sky. His movements were precise, each shot clearing a path forward. The pen wasn't ordinary, it was the key to his new ability, Forge Field, a gift from the dimensional chat. It allowed him to materialize anything his mind could imagine, from weapons to armor, vehicles, and even doomsday devices. But the ability came with a cost. Forge Field required a special catalyst, a forge stone, and his pen to bring creations to life. Beoponsith smirked as she dispatched her own enemies with chilling efficiency. With a wave of her hand, she manipulated the blood of her foes, forming razor-sharp spikes and crimson lances. She impaled and sliced through the gargoyles with a calm elegance. "Aira, Aira! Look at you, finally shedding that boyish restraint. My little spider has grown up," Beopon teased, her voice dripping with pride. Peter didn't rise to her bait, his gaze fixed and determined as he shot down another wave of enemies. "I'm done holding back," he replied coldly, his voice edged with resolve. "I understand now. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire." He recalled the words of a group chat member, words that had stayed with him. Sometimes, the greater good requires you to take the harder path. You can't protect everyone by pulling your punches. The battlefield finally quieted, leaving the couple standing amidst the wreckage. Peter Lab. Arriving home, Peter hurried to the basement. He placed his palm on a scanner and entered a code. "Welcome back, Mr. Peter Parker." "Welcome back, Miss Beoponsith." The wall slid open, revealing a concealed laboratory filled with gadgets and experimental equipment. At the center stood a combat apparatus, a set of mechanical spider arms, each equipped with a unique weapon. Peter approached the contraption, sitting down in the chair beside it. A series of automated limbs came to life, fastening the device onto his back. The 6 mechanical arms extended outward, glowing faintly as systems activated. Beopon watched with an amused smile, leaning casually against the wall. "So serious, Master," she teased. "I must say, this version of you is quite thrilling." Peter didn't respond immediately, adjusting the configuration of the mechanical limbs. Finally, he stood, the arms moving fluidly behind him, ready for battle. "I'm ready. Let's finish this," he said firmly, his resolve unshaken. Beopon stepped forward, her smirk widening. "As you wish, my dear spider." Together, they left the lab, prepared to face the dark forces threatening their city and the world beyond. Satria and the Fantastic Four stood together, fending off waves of demons, ghouls, and undead monstrosities flooding the city streets. Their combined might kept the invaders at bay, but the battle was far from over. "Dragon breath!" Satria roared, unleashing a torrent of dark fire from his mouth. The black flames incinerated a horde of undead, leaving nothing but ash in their wake. Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, stared in awe. "Whoa! That's insane! How do you even do that?" "Focus on the enemies, not me," Satria snapped, his voice sharp. "Ugh, you're no fun," Johnny muttered, pouting. Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, sighed as she scolded her brother. "Stop goofing around, Johnny, and focus." "Power Rangers right," Ben Grimm, the Thing, grunted. "Let's smash these freaks first, chat later." Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, couldn't resist his curiosity. "I have to ask, your armor, your abilities. Could I study them later?" Satria didn't even look at him. "No. Reed." Susan glared at her friends, exasperated. "Not the time." Amidst the carnage, a figure cloaked in black robes appeared, radiating a sinister green aura. His voice echoed through the chaos. "Stop your futile resistance, mortals. Surrender to the might of the Burning Legion." Johnny didn't hesitate, hurling a blast of fire at the figure. The flames dissipated harmlessly against an invisible barrier. "Who are you?" Satria demanded, his eyes narrowing. And how did you get here? The figure chuckled darkly. You dare question me, human? I am Ratundar, a necromancer of the cult of the damned. Prepare to join my army of the dead. Ratundar raised his hands, chanting in an ancient, guttural language. The ground shook as a legion of skeletal warriors emerged, armed with swords, shields, and bows. Kill them, the necromancer commanded. Just great, Johnny muttered, readying himself. Susan prepared a force field, but Satria stepped forward, stopping her. Leave it to me, he said firmly. Satria leaped into the air, dark flames swirling around his fists. Hibashira. With a powerful strike, a towering pillar of black fire erupted, engulfing the skeleton army and reducing them to cinders. Now that's impressive, Ben said, smirking. I can do that too. Johnny protested, glaring at Ben. In the heat of battle, Satria's inner voice Fatalis interrupted his thoughts. Fatalis, puppy, use your speed force to construct something useful. Construct. Like what? Satria asked, confused. The black dragon sighed. Fatalis, anything. A weapon, a shield, just concentrate and use your speed force to stabilize it. How do you even know about this? Fatalis, you watched the Flash movies, didn't you? I didn't think it was relevant to my life. Fatalis, you hopeless, just focus. Taking a deep breath, Satria concentrated, imagining a weapon. Dark lightning crackled around his arms as he formed an aginita-like blade, infused with his speed force. It worked, he exclaimed, gripping the weapon tightly. Time for the amazing Satria to shine. He launched himself into action, moving at blinding speed. Dark lightning trailed behind him as he slashed through the skeleton warriors, leaving only shattered bones in his wake. The Fantastic Four could barely keep up. Is he moving faster than the eye can follow? Reed muttered in amazement. Ratundar watched in horror as his army crumbled. Protect me, you fools, he shouted, summoning a barrier of skeletal warriors around himself. Satria smirked. Time to end this. Dark Platinum. Stop time. Everything froze. Satria calmly walked through the still battlefield, his naginata glowing ominously. With a single stroke, he severed Ratundar's head from his body. As time resumed, the necromancer's lifeless body crumpled to the ground, and his summoned army vanished into dust. Susan gasped, her face pale as she struggled to process what she'd just seen. What? When did you? She stammered, her stomach turning at the sight of the decapitated body. She turned away, trying to suppress her nausea. Sis, you okay? Johnny asked, concerned. I'll be fine, she said shakily, not wanting to distract the group. Reed, still stunned, asked, Who are you? I've never seen anything like this before. Satria glanced at him briefly. Another time. Right now, we have more important things to deal with. Without waiting for a response, he strode toward the massive gate the demons had emerged from, the Fantastic Four following closely behind. Help! It hurts so much. A monstrous creature, grotesquely stitched together from the remains of countless corpses, stood amidst the chaos. Its mismatched body parts glistened with blood as it chopped apart a screaming U.S. soldier. The soldier's agonized cries were cut short as the abomination began devouring him piece by piece. Fresh meat, the creature growled, its twisted face contorted in delight as it gnawed on the soldier's flesh. Nearby, panic consumed the remaining soldiers. No! They're eating Daryl! Oh my God! One of them cried, his voice trembling with horror. The leader of the SWAT team barked out orders, desperate to regain control. Soldiers, hold your formation! Don't falter, kill them all! Gunfire erupted in a relentless cacophony as the soldiers emptied their magazines into the oncoming hordes of undead and demonic creatures. We need more ammo! There's too many of them. Medic! We've got wounded here. Despite their efforts, the situation spiraled out of control. For every monster they managed to kill, more seemed to rise, their ranks replenished by the bodies of fallen soldiers. Despair began to creep into the hearts of the defenders. Foolish humans! Surrender and serve the burning legion! A towering lich floated above the battlefield, its skeletal fingers weaving dark magic. But before it could finish its incantation, a kunai whizzed through the air, slicing through the silence. In an instant, a figure appeared behind the lich, his blade gleaming as it effortlessly reduced the lich into ashes. The soldiers turned to see their unexpected savior, a hooded man, exuding an aura of unshakable confidence. His presence seemed to pierce through the suffocating despair, rekindling hope. The abominations shifted their attention to this newcomer, snarling and charging toward him. Unfazed, the man raised his blade, and a pure, godlike aura erupted around him. The oppressive energy radiated outward, causing the undead and demons to falter. "Come and face me, you monsters," his voice thundered across the battlefield. With unmatched precision and grace, the warrior struck down his foes. Each swing of his sword left a trail of devastation, cleaving through the demonic ranks like a divine force. The soldiers, watching in awe, cheered as their savior turned the tide of battle. Once the battlefield fell silent, one of the soldiers approached, trembling but grateful. "We, thank you, hero. Are you one of the Avengers?" The man shook his head. "No. I'm just someone who helps those in need." Without waiting for further questions, he walked toward a soldier lying on the ground, clutching a grievous wound. "What are you doing?" the injured soldier's comrade asked, wary of the stranger's intentions. The shinobi knelt beside the wounded man and placed a hand over his injuries. A soft, white glow emanated from his palm, bathing the soldier in a warm, healing light. The wounds began to close before their very eyes, leaving the soldier completely restored. It's a miracle," the soldier whispered, touching his unscarred skin in disbelief. "Thank you, hero. Please, tell us what's your name?" The man nodded solemnly. "You may call me Patronus Maximus." Before anyone could ask more, he vanished, disappearing as suddenly as he had arrived. Artoria cut through the undead and monsters with precise strikes, her golden blade shimmering even in the chaos. As she neared the giant portal, a deafening roar split the air. She stopped in her tracks and turned toward the source of the sound. 3 figures were locked in battle with 2 massive undead dragons and a towering demonic humanoid dragon, the Doom Guard. The sight was otherworldly, their clashes shaking the ground and illuminating the dark battlefield. One of the warriors, a blonde woman in a sleek, form-fitting uniform, blasted one of the dragons with a beam of pure energy. Her movements were agile, her strikes powerful. "Damn abomination," she muttered. "Why don't you stay dead already?" "Feel the power of Thor," another voice boomed as a man with long blonde hair hurled a hammer crackling with lightning at the other dragon, shattering its jaw. Yet, the monster's flesh and bones regenerated almost instantly, its grotesque form reassembling as dark energy from the portal flowed into it. Before she could act, the Doom Guard launched a sneak attack on the blonde woman with its flaming sword. Artoria darted forward, her instincts sharp, and intercepted the blow with Excalibur. Sparks flew as their blades clashed. The blonde woman blinked, surprised but grateful. "Who are you?" she asked, backing up and regaining her stance. Artoria stepped back after pushing the Doom Guard aside, her stance regal and composed. "For now, you may call me Saber." Thor strode forward, his hammer slung over his shoulder. His blue cape billowed in the wind as he studied her with interest. "I am Thor, son of Odin and Prince of Asgard. Your strength is impressive, Lady Saber. Are you a warrior of this realm?" Artoria shook her head. "No, but I fight to protect it from the chaos these creatures bring." The blonde woman stepped closer, her gaze assessing. "I'm Carol Danvers, but most know me as Captain Marvel. We could use a blade like yours right now." The third figure, a towering, muscular man with a lion pelt slung over his shoulders, smirked. "And I am Hercules, son of Zeus. It's not often I meet someone who carries themselves like a true champion. I like you already." Artoria nodded at each of them. "It's an honor to fight alongside you. But we must focus. The dragons are drawing power from that portal, which must be closed." Thor nodded in agreement. "Wise words, Saber. Let us combine our strength to slay these demonic creatures and destroy the portal." Peter swung through the battlefield, dodging attacks from hordes of ghouls and undead creatures. His 6 robotic spider arms moved with precision, each performing its designated role. "A heat-seeking missile isn't going to work on these things," Peter muttered to himself, dodging a ghoul's lunge. "They're not alive in the first place." One of his arms fired a thick web, ensnaring 3 ghouls at once. With a quick command, another arm unleashed a searing laser beam, disintegrating the trapped creatures. "Gotcha!" Peter grinned as the ghouls burned to ashes. Each of his 6 spider arms served a unique function. Heat beam, a concentrated laser that incinerated enemies on contact. Rocket launcher, a homing rocket system designed for mid-range combat. Barrier generator, capable of creating energy shields to protect him or his allies. Nanorobot swarm, tiny spider-shaped robots for reconnaissance or sabotage. Teleport flare, a device to displace enemies or himself to another location. The final arm's function remained a closely guarded secret, used only in dire situations. As the battle raged, Beopon Sith, Peter's vampiric companion, fought by his side. She was elegant yet lethal, weaving through the chaos like a dancer. However, her stamina was waning. "Master, these creatures' life force is disgusting. I can't replenish my prana like this," she complained, holding her stomach with a grimace. Peter glanced at her, then nodded. "All right, let's take a breather." The two retreated into a nearby building, the dilapidated structure offering temporary refuge. The sound of ghouls clawing outside faded as they entered a quiet room. Peter took off his mask, revealing his youthful face and tired eyes. "Here," he said, tilting his head to expose his neck. "Go ahead." Beopon's crimson eyes lit up. "Phew phew phew, thank you, master. You're too kind to me." She leaned in and bit into his neck, her fangs piercing his skin delicately. Peter winced at first but quickly relaxed, his body used to the sensation. "Ah, delicious as always," Beopon murmured between sips. Her expression softened, her eyes becoming heart-shaped as she savored his blood. "Your blood is like the finest vintage wine. I could drink it forever." Peter's face flushed. "Beopon, you've been at this for 5 minutes. If you keep going, I'll end up as one of those dried-up husks outside." "But, master, you taste so good," she whined, her voice dripping with affection. Suddenly, a sultry voice cut through the tension. Well, I didn't expect Spider-Boy to have such a unique way of keeping his energy up," the voice purred. Both Peter and Beopon snapped their heads toward the sound. From the shadows emerged a woman with silvery white hair clad in a skin-tight black catsuit, her sharp green eyes glinting with amusement. She leaned casually against the doorframe, her posture exuding confidence and continue. "Black Cat." Peter's voice cracked slightly, a mix of surprise and disbelief. Felicia Hardy smirked, twirling a clawed finger in mock curiosity. "Color me intrigued. I sneak into a building to lay low, and what do I find? A teenage spider indulging in some kinky vampire bonding session." Beopon's eyes narrowed, her possessive nature flaring. "Who's this, master? Another one of your fangirls?" Felicia raised an eyebrow, a playful grin tugging at her lips. "Fangirl? Oh, sweetie, I'm the Black Cat. I don't follow anyone, I let them follow me. But judging by how cozy you two look, maybe I should start keeping an eye on this spider." Peter groaned, rubbing his temples. Felicia, not now. We're kind of in the middle of an apocalypse. Felicia stepped closer, her hips swaying with every step. And yet, you've got time for a little neck-nibbling session. Priorities, Spider. Baopon hissed softly, stepping protectively in front of Peter. Back off, cat. Master is mine. Felicia chuckled, clearly enjoying the tension. Relax, little vampire. I'm not here to steal your boy. I just couldn't resist saying hello. And maybe lend a claw if you need it. Peter sighed, putting his mask back on. Felicia, if you're going to stick around, make yourself useful. These ghouls won't kill themselves. Felicia flexed her claws, a confident smirk spreading across her face. Oh, Spider, you know I'm always useful. Lead the way. Baopon pouted but didn't argue, knowing they needed all the help they could get. As the trio prepared to leave their temporary haven, Peter couldn't help but mutter under his breath, "Why do all the crazy ones flock to me?" Felicia winked. Because you love us. To be continued. Chapter 34, Chapter 34. Legion's Endgame. New York, United States. Satria stepped into the chaotic battlefield, his sharp eyes catching sight of a horned, alluring woman in the distance. She leaned over a helpless human, planting a kiss that drained the man of life. His limp body crumpled to the ground like discarded trash. The succubus, her blue eyes glowing with predatory hunger, licked her lips as she turned her gaze toward Satria and his group. A twisted smile stretched across her face, dripping with both lust and malice. How long will my transformation last, Fatalis? Satria asked inwardly. Fatalis, you've got about 10 minutes left, give or take. After that, you'll need time to re-enter calamity mode. Oh, and you're burning through energy faster because of that pesky speed force metabolism. Great, Satria thought bitterly. The succubus's voice broke his focus. You're quite handsome and hot, she purred, her tone dripping with seduction as she focused on Johnny. Why don't you ditch this sad little group and come join me? I'll make it worth your while. Johnny's cocky grin surfaced immediately. It would be my pleasure to. Thud. Susan's elbow jabbed into his ribs. Idiot. Don't let yourself get charmed by her tricks, she snapped. Johnny winced. What's your problem, sis? You are, she shot back. Stop bickering, Satria cut in, his tone commanding. We don't have time for this nonsense. He locked eyes with the succubus. Sorry, lady. We're rejecting your generous offer. Her smile widened, revealing sharp fangs. A pity. I had such high hopes for you. She snapped her fingers, summoning a squad of 10 towering felguards, their crimson skin gleaming and halberds gleaming in the light. Kill them, she ordered, her voice cold and imperious. The felguards encircled the group, their hulking forms cutting off any escape. What now? Reed asked, glancing at Satria. Satria's mind worked quickly. Reed's elasticity is a lot like Luffy's powers in One Piece. I wonder if he could use that potential, but I'll need to tread carefully. The man's a genius, and that makes him dangerous. We form a tight formation, Satria ordered. Rocky, you're on the front line. Tank their attacks and smash through them. Gomu Gomu man, he gestured at Reed, use your stretchy powers to restrain them so we can land clean hits. Gomu Gomu. Reed raised an eyebrow. It means rubber, Satria explained flatly. Reed nodded, though he still seemed puzzled. Firebrat and I will be the heavy hitters, Satria continued, turning to Susan. You're on support duty. Protect the team and strike when you see an opening. Understood, Susan replied with a determined nod. Let's roast these freaks to ashes, Johnny said as flames engulfed his body. And after this mess is over, you're joining us for a drink, Power Ranger, Ben rumbled, cracking his knuckles. If we survive, Satria replied with a smirk. The Felguards roared and charged. Kill or be killed, Satria shouted, his voice firm. No holding back. Satria surged forward, a black blur moving at inhuman speed. Johnny's flames lit up the battlefield as he bombarded the Felguards, charring their skin. Reed stretched his elastic limbs, wrapping around the Felguards to immobilize them. This opened them up for devastating punches from Ben and precise strikes from Satria. Susan erected invisible barriers to deflect incoming halberd strikes and counterattacked by crushing enemies with her force fields. Graya! The Felguards fell one by one under the coordinated assault. The succubus's eyes burned with fury. You dare destroy my soldiers! She released a cloud of pink pheromones, the scent intoxicating and dangerously alluring. Without hesitation, Satria darted toward her, his speed leaving a trail of black lightning. Unlike Flash, I don't hold back, he whispered menacingly from behind her. The succubus whirled around, startled. What? How did? Before she could finish, Satria constructed a dagger using speed force energy and plunged it straight into her skull. Ah! She screamed, writhing as the blade pierced her brain. Satria held her in place, unmoved by her cries. He didn't release her until her body went limp, her blood pooling at his feet. He yanked the blade free and let her corpse fall unceremoniously to the ground. The Fantastic Four stared at him in stunned silence, their faces a mixture of awe and horror. Fatalis, fatality. Now I know why we are destined to be together, hee. Johnny broke the silence first. Dude, did you really have to kill her like that? She was hot, man. Yeah, Susan added hesitantly. I mean, wasn't that a bit much? Satria fixed them with a cold glare. She was trying to control you. Would you prefer to have been her slave, fighting each other to the death under her influence? The group exchanged uneasy glances but didn't argue further. Satria turned away, his expression hard. He always thought 2 steps ahead, and he wasn't about to gamble his team's survival for sentimentality. Let's move, he ordered. We don't have time to waste. The Fantastic Four silently fell into formation, ready for the battles yet to come. Dimensional Portal. New York, United States. Patronus stood just steps away from the enormous portal, his sharp gaze scanning the chaos. Among the defenders were 2 familiar figures, a man wielding an adamantium shield with precision and another unleashing devastating slashes with razor-sharp claws. Captain America and Logan were in the thick of battle, alongside other heroes, pushing back the endless wave of demons pouring from the burning Legion's gate. Despite their relentless efforts, the enemy's numbers didn't dwindle. Instead, they grew. A sudden, chilling sense of danger washed over Patronus. His instincts screamed louder than ever. Something monstrous was about to emerge. What is this power? It feels even more dangerous than the 3 great yokai, he thought, gripping his weapon tightly. The portal rippled violently as a massive shadow loomed. Then, it stepped through. The creature was a vision of nightmares. Its twisted, centaur-like form oozed malice, with its demonic features accentuated by glowing, infernal eyes. A horrifying blend of power and terror radiated from its presence, suffocating the battlefield in dread. Mortal, the demon's voice thundered, dripping with authority and disdain, surrender yourself to the might of the burning legion. You have 2 choices, enter servitude under our Lord's banner, or perish along with your pathetic planet. As it released a wave of crimson energy, the atmosphere grew oppressive. Civilians nearby collapsed instantly, overwhelmed by the sheer force of its aura. A shimmering portal materialized, and Doctor Strange stepped through, his cloak of levitation billowing dramatically. He glared at the demon. Who are you, fiend? Strange demanded, his voice calm yet commanding. Who is your master, and what purpose brings you to this world? Strange's mind raced. Is this another of Dormammu's kin? Or does this signify a new threat entirely? If there are more like this one, the multiverse could be in grave danger. The demon smirked, baring razor-sharp teeth. I am Dexata, herald of Aesgalar, the Underlord. In every world, in every future, the Burning Legion stands undefeated. We are invincible, unstoppable, and we will drown your universe in eternal darkness. Patronus wasted no time. He hurled his Rasen Shuriken at Dexata, the spinning energy sphere cutting through the air with devastating speed. The attack detonated on impact, a blinding explosion of raw energy. But when the dust cleared, Dexata stood unscathed, a shield of crackling red lightning surrounding him. Interesting, Dexata said with a wicked grin. You forced me to use my power. That is rare. His glowing eyes locked onto Patronus. You are no mere mortal. Your aura speaks of something far greater. Tell me, what are you? Patronus ignored the question, his stance unwavering. The demon chuckled darkly. No matter. Join us, and together, we shall conquer the multiverse, leaving nothing but ashes in our wake. What say you? Patronus's reply was instant, his tone icy. I'm sorry, but I must decline. Dexata's grin vanished, replaced by a snarl. Foolish! You'll regret this decision. He raised his weapon, the ground beneath him cracking from the surge of energy radiating off his form. Remember my name, warrior, Dexata, the one who will end you. Patronus tightened his grip, his power building. We'll see who falls first. The battlefield held its breath as the clash of titans loomed. Satria and the Fantastic Four stood amidst the aftermath of yet another grueling battle. Countless enemies lay defeated, but the war was far from over. The tension in the air was palpable, and the stakes only seemed to rise. Ahead, three dangerous fronts awaited, the ominous portal, the towering giant, and the raging dragon. Each presented its own peril. Where to next, brother? Fatalis's voice echoed in Satria's mind, tinged with urgency. Whoever fights near the portal isn't your ordinary foe. I'm not suggesting you go there first. Better to help Saber or Jiraiya instead. Satria mulled over his options, aware of his dwindling time in this transformation. I think we'll need to split up, guys, Satria finally said, turning to the Fantastic Four. Ben Grimm frowned. Split up? Why? We're stronger together. He crossed his arms, clearly preferring to stick with the mysterious warrior who'd been leading them so far. Satria gave him a reassuring smile. Let's just say there's a personal matter I need to take care of alone. Johnny raised an eyebrow. Dude, we can help you. Let him be, Reed interrupted, holding up a hand to silence Johnny. He studied Satria for a moment, then nodded. You've already helped us more than we could have hoped. Who are you, anyway? Satria hesitated, then decided to share his name. This wasn't the DXD world, and he didn't need to hide here. My name is Satria. Reed extended a hand. Good luck, Satria. Stay safe out there. Thanks, Stretch, Satria replied with a smirk, shaking his hand. Susan stepped forward, her eyes soft with gratitude. Mr. Satria, if you have time after all this chaos, can we meet again and be friends? Satria's smile turned playful. How could I refuse such an invitation from a beautiful lady like you? Sure. Susan chuckled, a light blush dusting her cheeks. I'm Susan Storm, and thank you for the compliment. Reed raised an eyebrow, clearly unamused by the light flirting. Let's not waste time, he said curtly. Johnny waved as they prepared to leave. Catch you later, Satria. As the Fantastic Four moved on, Satria remained behind, watching them disappear into the chaos. He let out a sigh, undoing his transformation. His black armor faded, leaving him in his base form. Pulling a cigarette from his pocket, he lit it with a flick of his fingers, taking a slow drag. Now then, he murmured, smoke curling into the air, where should I go first? underscore 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 underscore. Kazuma-sama, this mission sounds terrifying. Seriously, what kind of nightmare-inducing monster are they even facing? I bet it's got teeth the size of my torso. Ice sadist, ugh, why wasn't I invited? This is exactly my kind of thing. Crushing fear and blood-soaked carnage? Sign me up. Amelia, I think I'm going to be sick. This much blood? This much gore? How do they even keep going? I can't watch it anymore. Evil spirit, come on, Junior, tell us what would you do in their shoes? Be the righteous knight and toss them into prison, or play executioner. Let's hear it, Dark Detective. Batman Jr., justice doesn't falter, even in chaos. But this is beyond what I expected. Evil spirit, he? The bats rattled. I love it. Kazuma-sama, I knew it. If even Junior looks this tense, I made the right call by sitting this one out. No regrets. Underscore 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 underscore. Artoria POV. As they battled fiercely, a sudden, oppressive presence swept over the battlefield. It was suffocating, like a dark storm cloud crashing down. Thor's grip on Mjolnir tightened. Did you feel that, Hercules? Hercules, standing amidst a pile of shattered bones and torn flesh, nodded gravely. Something unnatural has entered this realm. We must destroy that portal before it's too late. Then less talking, more smashing. Captain Marvel snapped, her fists glowing with energy as she blasted another wave of enemies. Artoria, her sword poised to strike, suddenly faltered. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, doubt crept into her voice. What is this? Even my blade trembles. How can such a presence exist? Hercules roared, grabbing the nearest undead dragon by its massive head and tearing it clean off with a sickening crunch. Well done, my friend! Thor shouted in approval, his hammer crackling with lightning. But their victory was short-lived. The undead dragon's decapitated body staggered back to its feet, grabbing its severed head and reattaching it as though nothing had happened. Captain Marvel gritted her teeth. You've got to be kidding me. How do we kill these things for good? Before anyone could answer, the second undead dragon reared back, its gaping maw glowing an icy blue. Thor's expression darkened. It's preparing to unleash another frost breath. Take cover. Just as the air around them began to chill, a black energy beam sliced through the sky, striking the dragon squarely in the chest. The impact sent the monstrous creature crashing to the ground, disrupting its attack. A dark armored figure emerged from the shadows, his presence commanding yet enigmatic. His voice was calm but resolute. Are you all right? Who the hell are you? Captain Marvel demanded, her fists still glowing, ready for another fight. The figure turned toward her, his helmet reflecting the flickering light of battle. The name's Satria. Don't worry, I'm on your side. Now, can someone give me a rundown on what we're dealing with here? Thor stepped forward, his voice firm. These beasts are no ordinary foes. The undead dragons possess regeneration beyond reason, even decapitation cannot end them. They unleash frost breaths that freeze anything in their path, and the humanoid dragon is even worse. He summons meteor storms, and can dispel my magic. Lovely, Satria muttered, his tone laced with sarcasm. Sounds like a walk in the park. Captain Marvel crossed her arms. Got any bright ideas? Or are you just here to look cool? Satria glanced at her, then at the battlefield. Give me a moment. I'll need to observe their patterns first. In the meantime, keep them busy. If we can't kill them outright, we'll need to neutralize their regeneration somehow. Artoria raised her blade once more, determination returning to her eyes. Understood. Let's give him the time he needs. Onward, warriors! With renewed resolve, the group charged back into the fray, their trust in this new ally tenuous but their spirits unyielding. Jiraiya POV. Jiraiya landed nimbly on a rooftop, his eyes scanning the chaos unfolding in the strange city. Fires raged, and the distant sound of sirens blended with the cries of battle. Beside him, Gamabunta appeared in a puff of smoke, his massive frame dwarfing the surrounding buildings. What in the hell is this place? Gamabunta grumbled, his deep voice reverberating through the air. His massive yellow eyes squinted at the alien landscape. Is that a big frog? A nearby onlooker gasped, gawking up at the enormous toad. Gamabunta's nostrils flared, steam hissing from them. I'm not a damn frog, brat, he roared, his booming voice shaking windows. Jiraiya, where the hell have you dragged me this time? Relax, Bunta. Jiraiya raised his hands placatingly, though his trademark smirk hinted at his amusement. We're in a place called New York, another world, apparently. Another world? Gamabunta's eyes narrowed, his disbelief palpable. Have you been drinking again? Nope, not this time. Jiraiya glanced at the battlefield, where a massive two-headed giant lumbered forward, smashing cars and swiping at fleeing civilians. We've got bigger problems right now. See that ugly bastard over there? He pointed at the towering behemoth. Gamabunta followed his gaze, his expression darkening as he spotted the two-headed giant. The creature roared, its deep, guttural voice shaking the earth as it swung its club wildly, sending chunks of pavement flying. This world really knows how to roll out the welcome mat. Gamabunta unsheathed his enormous blade, the metal gleaming menacingly in the flickering light. But you'd better believe I'm expecting double payment for this mess, Jiraiya. You owe me a barrel and a feast when this is over. Jiraiya chuckled, leaping onto Gamabunta's head and settling into a battle stance. Deal. Now let's take this giant down before it levels the whole city. Gamabunta smirked, the thrill of battle sparking in his eyes. All right, let's teach this oversized freak what happens when it messes with the great Gamabunta. The legendary sage and his colossal ally charged forward, ready to face the monstrous foe head-on. Patronus and Dr. Strange stood together, battling Dexata, one of the Burning Legion's most dangerous lieutenants. Dr. Strange eyed the hooded man fighting beside him, curiosity mingled with suspicion. Who is this guy? His presence exudes divinity, much like Thor's. But his methods, they're unorthodox. As if sensing the question, Patronus smirked under his hood. Just call me Patronus, he said, deflecting a stream of dark red lightning with a shield of glowing chakra. Dexata sneered, raising his hand to unleash another devastating attack. Dark red lightning crackled and arced toward them, ripping through the air. Dr. Strange quickly conjured a magical barrier, deflecting most of the energy. Patronus responded immediately, his hands weaving intricate seals. Heavenly Thunder Fox. Lightning, shaped like a snarling fox, erupted from Patronus's fingertips, clashing with Dexata's dark red lightning. The air vibrated with power as the opposing forces collided, their energies equal in intensity. The resulting explosion shook the ground, enveloping the battlefield in thick smoke. Damn, I can't see him. Patronus said, squinting through the haze. As the smoke cleared, Dexata moved like a blur, delivering a devastating punch that sent Patronus crashing into a nearby building. Ugh! Patronus groaned, emerging from the rubble. Patronus! Dr. Strange called out, his voice edged with concern. This guy is faster than I anticipated. Acting swiftly, Strange conjured magical ropes to bind Dexata hand. The ropes coiled around the demon, but instead of restraining him, Dexata yanked Strange toward him with a brutal tug and hurled him into a crumbling structure. Fast and strong, Strange muttered, pulling himself from the debris. His gaze darted across the battlefield. Where's Patronus? At that moment, Patronus leapt from the wreckage. His eyes now glowed with a toad-like hue, Sage mode fully activated. Dexata grinned menacingly. Ah, so the insect has another trick up his sleeve. The demon charged at Patronus, but when he dodged the hooded man's punch, an invisible force slammed him into the ground. What? Dexata growled, staggering to his feet. Doctor Strange seized the moment, using telekinesis to hurl a car at the demon, sending him sprawling again. Nice throw, Doc. Patronus quipped, smirking. No need for thanks, Strange replied curtly. Patronus formed a hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 4 identical clones of Patronus materialized and charged at Dexata. Strange observed in astonishment. This isn't magic. These clones are physical. What kind of technique is this? Dexata laughed darkly, summoning a purple lightning barrier around his body. The moment the clones touched it, they disintegrated into smoke. This is my diabolic edict absolute defense, Dexata said smugly, his aura crackling with destructive energy. Patronus leapt back, assessing the situation. Be careful, Kurama's voice echoed in his mind. That energy around him is dangerous, akin to a truth-seeking ball, but even more volatile. Strange moved to stand beside Patronus. That was an impressive trick, but do you have a plan to take him down? Patronus nodded. Yeah, but I need time. Can you keep him busy for 5 to 10 minutes? Strange smirked. I'll handle it. As Patronus prepared, Strange engaged Dexata, casting spells to create magical barriers and distractions. The battle raged on, with Strange barely holding his ground against the demon's relentless assault. Unknowingly, he suddenly found himself surrounded by an endless void. The oppressive silence was broken only by a deep, resonant voice. Child of prophecy. You are an interesting anomaly. Patronus tensed, he couldn't reach out to anyone, not his closest friends, nor his allies. The void was impenetrable, cutting off all connections. Except, the group chat. Of course, it still worked. This realization chilled him to his core. Whoever or whatever had created the group chat wasn't bound by the rules of this world or any other. This is what I've always feared, he thought grimly. The system isn't some benevolent gift. To beings like them, it's probably just a game and amusement. He clenched his fists, anger and unease bubbling beneath his calm exterior. Are we nothing more than pawns, moving at the whims of a higher design? But he didn't have the luxury to dwell on such thoughts now. There was a battle to win and he needed to trust, at least for the moment, that his path was still his own. Who are you? How do you know about me? I am but a watcher, and an adversary of the Burning Legion. You must destroy that gate permanently, young man, or all is lost. Destroy the gate? How? As if in answer, an unfamiliar energy flooded his body in overwhelming power. Thank you, whoever you are, Patronus murmured, determination hardening his features. Dexata was advancing on Strange, his claws crackling with energy. Your tricks are tiresome, sorcerer. Now, face oblivion. Suddenly, glowing orange chains erupted from the ground, binding Dexata in place. Strange grinned. Thanks to Patronus buying me time, I was able to set this trap. Dexata struggled, his aura flaring. You won't hold me for long. Patronus re-emerged, now glowing with a radiant white energy. 9 truth-seeking balls floated behind him. His transformation into Hokushin Rikudo mode was complete. Dexata's confidence faltered as he sensed the sheer power radiating from the hooded figure. You? What are you planning? Patronus didn't respond. He unsheathed his sword and began advancing toward the portal. Stop him! Dexata roared, ordering his remaining forces to intercept. Patronus cut them down effortlessly. Heavenly sword style, crescent moon slash. A sweeping wave of energy annihilated the oncoming orcs, clearing his path. Standing before the portal, Patronus raised his sword. This ends now. Heavenly demon god style, dimension breaker. With a single, devastating slash, the portal shattered, severing its connection to the Burning Legion's dimension. A deafening roar echoed as the gateway collapsed, sealing their world from the demonic invasion. To be continued. Chapter 35, Chapter 35. The Calamity and the King. The dimly lit chamber of the cultists' secret base was filled with smoke and debris, the aftermath of a fierce assault. The portal they had been so desperately created was now destroyed, its energy dissipating into nothingness. The leader of the cultists stared in disbelief at the carnage, his voice trembling with rage. Our work, decades of preparation, ruined. Who dares? Amidst the chaos, Peter Parker emerged from the shadows, his suit dark and battle-worn. This wasn't the wisecracking, light-hearted Spider-Man. Everyone knew this was a man who had reached his limit. Peter's movements were swift and calculated as he slammed a webbed fist into the cultists' member, sending them sprawling against the wall. You thought you could summon hell in the middle of New York and get away with it? His voice was cold, devoid of its usual humor. Black Cat, perched elegantly on a fallen pillar, watched Peter with a mixture of surprise and concern. Spidey, she called out, her whip coiled loosely in her hand, you're usually all quips and banter. What's with this intensity? Peter didn't answer. Instead, he fired a web at a fleeing cultist, yanking them back before they could reach the exit. His strike was precise, brutal, leaving the cultist unconscious on the floor. Wow, Black Cat muttered, jumping down beside him. You're not holding back at all, are you? This isn't like you. The cult leader coughed, glaring up at him. You think you've won? Destroy me, and others will rise in my place. The Burning Legion will return. Peter didn't reply. He raised his arm, and the soft hum of his suit's laser charging filled the chamber. Black Cat's eyes widened in shock. Spidey, she yelled, rushing toward him. What the hell are you doing? Peter's voice was icy, his gaze locked on the cultist. This guy is responsible for countless lives lost. If I let him go, he'll just keep spreading his poison. Someone like this doesn't deserve another chance. The cult leader chuckled weakly, seemingly unafraid of his impending fate. Yes, do it, Spider-Man, prove you're no better than me. Peter's finger hovered over the trigger. Before he could fire, Black Cat grabbed his arm, forcing it downward. The laser scorched the floor instead, leaving a molten mark. Stop, she shouted, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. Peter turned to her, his face shadowed by anger. Black Cat, let go. No. Her grip on his arm tightened. This isn't you. You don't kill people no matter how much they deserve it. He doesn't deserve to walk away from this, Peter snapped, his voice breaking. How many lives do you think he's destroyed? How many families are grieving because of him? Beoponsith clapped her hands, clearly amused. My, Spider darling, you're much more interesting when you're angry. Felicia's expression softened, and she stepped closer, placing a hand on his chest. I know you're angry. But if you cross this line, you'll never come back from it. Peter's breathing slowed as Black Cat words sank in. His arm trembled, the laser's glow dimmed as he powered it down. The cult leader sneered. Pathetic. No wonder they call you the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Felicia rolled her eyes and delivered a swift kick to the cultist's face, knocking him. And you're the reason cultists have such bad PR, she muttered. Peter stood over the cult leader, his shadow stretching across the rubble-strewn floor. The air buzzed with tension as his spider suit pulsed with barely contained energy. The cult leader, battered but unbroken, leaned against a shattered column, his mouth curling into an unnerving grin. Why? Peter asked, his voice low and strained, his fists clenched tightly. Why summon something like the Burning Legion? Do you have any idea how much pain you've caused? The cult leader chuckled, his eyes glinting with malice. Why? He echoed mockingly. Because this world is boring. Peter's eyes narrowed. What? The cult leader straightened slightly, his smile growing. This world, this dull, stagnant existence, it disgusts me. No real power, no real freedom. Just rules and order strangling everything. I wanted chaos, Spider-Man anarchy. Power beyond comprehension. And you know what? He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper that was no less venomous. I'd do it all again. In fact, next time, I'll make sure to target you. Your friends. Your family. Everyone you care about. You'll watch them burn, and it'll be glorious. The cult leader's words struck a nerve deep inside Peter. His hands shook, his breathing grew heavier, and the glow of his suit darkened into a crimson hue. Spidey, Black Cat said cautiously, stepping toward him. Don't. But Peter didn't listen. The rage that had been simmering finally boiled over. He raised his arm, and a searing laser beam erupted from his suit. The cult leader's smile faltered for only a second before he was engulfed in the blinding light, his scream cut short as he was reduced to ash. The room fell silent. Black Cat's eyes widened in disbelief. Spidey, what did you do? She whispered. Peter turned to her, his expression hollow yet resolute. He made his choice, he said flatly. Black Cat took a step back, her usual playful demeanor gone. This isn't you, Spidey. This isn't the guy I. She stopped herself, shaking her head. You don't kill, no matter how evil they are. Beoponsith stepped forward, her parasol resting casually on her shoulder. She was unbothered, even delighted, by the spectacle. Oh, finally, she exclaimed, her voice dripping with approval. Master, you've finally shed that pesky hero complex. Black Cat shot her a glare. Are you serious? He just destroyed evil, Beoponsith interrupted, her tone light but cutting. Something you wouldn't have the stomach for, kitty. Peter looked at the ashes, then back at Black Cat and Beoponsith. His face was unreadable, but the tension in his body betrayed his inner turmoil. I did what had to be done, he said, his voice steady but lacking its usual warmth. Black Cat threw up her hands, turning away. Fine. You made your choice. But don't expect me to stand here and pretend this is okay. She stormed off, pausing only to glance back at him with a mix of anger and disappointment. I hope you know what you're doing, Spidey. Beoponsith chuckled, her eyes gleaming with amusement. She'll come around. They always do. Peter didn't respond. He simply turned toward the remnants of the cult's base, the weight of his actions pressing heavily on his shoulders. The dimensional gate crumbled into nothingness, its ominous glow extinguished. The battlefield fell silent for a brief moment, the air heavy with the aftermath of chaos. Soldiers cheered, their victory cries echoing across the ruined city. The hero among them stood tall, his aura radiating triumph. Doctor Strange, battered but still standing, watched Patronus with a mix of awe and disbelief. But their relief was short-lived. Patronus! The furious roar of Dexata shattered the brief peace. Dark red energy surged from his form, a torrent of raw malevolence that seemed to twist reality itself. The chains Doctor Strange had conjured around him cracked and then exploded into shards of ethereal light, sending Strange flying through the air. He crashed into a nearby building, the impact creating a crater of rubble. Patronus turned to face Dexata, his expression calm but resolute. He stepped forward, the faint glow of his Hokushin Rikudo mode illuminating the area like a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. It's over, Dexata, Patronus said, his voice steady and firm. Whatever dark plans you had, they're done. The gate is destroyed, and your path to this world is sealed. Dexata sneered, his eyes blazing with hatred. You think this is over? He spat, his voice a guttural growl. I will make you suffer for this, boy. I will savor your screams, tear the flesh from your bones, and bathe in your blood. The air grew heavier as the two figures locked eyes, each radiating power and determination. The stage was set for their final clash. Far from the battlefield, hidden in the shadows of the cosmos, another presence watched the events unfold. Aesgalar, the Underlord, loomed over a swirling vortex of darkness, his massive form exuding an aura of dread. His green eyes burned with a sinister light as he observed the confrontation with growing disdain. Someone destroyed the portal. Aesgalar's deep voice rumbled, the weight of his words shaking the void around him. His clawed hand clenched tightly, the sharp talons scraping against each other in frustration. This is unexpected. A minor setback, nothing more. Aesgalar leaned closer to the vortex, his dark gaze focusing on the figure of Patronus. So, this is the one who dares to stand against the Burning Legion. A low growl rumbled from the Underlord's throat, his anger barely contained. Yet beneath his fury, a glimmer of curiosity lingered. Patronus. I will remember that name, Aesgalar said, his voice a venomous promise. Nothing will stop us. Nothing will slow our march. And when we arrive... He leaned back into the shadows, his towering form vanishing into the abyss, leaving only his voice to echo in the void. All will burn. On the battlefield, Patronus and Dexata stood only a few paces apart. The ground beneath them trembled as their auras collided, the sheer force of their power making the air crackle with energy. I'm not afraid of you, Patronus said, his grip tightening on his blade. His truth-seeking orbs hovered ominously behind him, glowing with divine light. Dexata's lips curled into a wicked grin, his claws crackling with malevolent energy. Good. Fear is for the weak. I want to see how long that courage of yours lasts once I start tearing you apart. Without another word, the two charged at each other, their clash shaking the very foundation of the world. The five warriors unleashed all their might against the towering undead dragon. Blades clashed, energy blasts erupted, and divine lightning crackled, but the beast refused to fall. Every time they struck it down, its grotesque form regenerated, piecing itself back together as though mocking their efforts. This is pointless. Captain Marvel shouted, frustration dripping from her voice as she blasted the dragon again, only to see its charred body mend itself. If this keeps up, we're just going to tire ourselves out. Nearby, Satria darted between blows, his speed outmatching the hulking Doom Guard pursuing him. Focus, he yelled, dodging another swing. We don't have time to think about the dragon, take care of what's in front of you. With that, he vibrated his fists, channeling powerful energy through his knuckles, a technique inspired by a certain world government secret agent. Rakugan. A devastating shockwave burst from his fists, hitting the Doom Guard head-on. The colossal demon was sent hurtling backward, smashing through debris, its body crumpling as shockwaves rippled through it. Satria stumbled and coughed up blood, his body trembling from the strain. But to his dismay, the Doom Guard's wounds began closing, its regeneration almost as relentless as the dragon's. Fatalis, brother! What are you going to do? You're already at your limit. Satria faltered, his breathing ragged. His body screamed in protest, the strain of the battle taking its toll. Before he could finish his thought, his consciousness slipped, plunging him into a void. The world around him dissolved into darkness, and he found himself standing in an unfamiliar realm. The air was thick, heavy with a sense of dread. Above him loomed a sky devoid of stars, while the ground beneath his feet shimmered like molten obsidian, glowing faintly with crimson cracks. What? Where am I? Satria muttered, spinning around. As he wandered, he spotted a massive cave. A strange whistling echoed from within, like the howling of a storm. Suspicious, he said to himself, grinning. Well, let's do this. He cupped his hands around his mouth. Permizi, kak. Pakit kodnaya odar sampai atas nama kakak fatalis. A deep, menacing growl answered him. Silence, mortal, and come closer. Satria entered the cave and found himself face to face with a colossal black dragon, chained and radiating malice. You look cool, neat dragon, Satria said, his tone casual as he winked. How about we? Silence, the dragon roared, glaring at him. I am the true essence of Fatalis, the one you've relied on for power. What you've known so far is but a fragment of me, a shadow of what I am. LOL, Satria muttered, his tone half joking. So you're saying I've been working with the diet version this whole time? Fatalis's lips curled into what might have been a smirk. You're amusing, human. But this is no time for your humor. You stand at the brink of death, and the enemy you face is far beyond your current strength. Yup. How about you help me then? The dragon's fiery eyes bore into him. You seek my power. Will you accept me and destroy everything that opposes us? Satria crossed his arms, smirking. Is that a marriage proposal? Sorry, but you'll need permission from Kiyohime and the White Dragon Princess first. You fool, the dragon snapped, her voice tinged with an almost tsundere irritation. Do you accept it or not? Listen, Satria said, stepping closer. I don't destroy for no reason. I protect the people who matter to me, including you, neat dragon. The dragon hesitated, her eyes narrowing. Protect? You're an idiot. Maybe. But I'm your idiot. The dragon huffed, clearly flustered. Fine. Take my power. But if you misuse it, I'll devour you myself. She pricked her claw and let a single drop of blood fall onto his forehead. Suddenly, the realm shifted around Satria, and he found himself in a memory, a battlefield strewn with the bodies of his loved ones. The cries of despair and the stench of death filled the air. What is this? Satria asked. This is your fear, Fatalis's voice echoed. Your weakness. You must confront it, or these chains will never break. One by one, familiar faces appeared before him: Kiyohime, Valyana, his family, and countless others. They all stared at him with lifeless eyes, their expressions frozen in pain and betrayal. You couldn't save us, a voice whispered. You failed. But Satria, he smirked. Do you think I'm going to start trembling and crying because of this? His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. His eyes locked onto Fatalis, unwavering, brimming with defiance. Fatalis tilted her massive head, her crimson gaze narrowing. You face the weight of your failures, the shadow of what you could become. Most mortals would break under such pressure. What makes you so different? Satria stepped forward, his boots cracking the molten ground beneath him. He shoved his hands into his pockets, his cocky smirk never faltering. Different? Who do you think I am? I'm not the kind of guy who falls apart because of a little doom and gloom show. The shadowy memories writhed around him, the specters of the people he loved reaching out with accusatory fingers. You failed us, their ghostly voices whispered. Blah, 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 Satria interrupted, waving a dismissive hand. You think this is going to shake me? You have no idea what I'm made of, Fatalis. He jabbed a thumb at his chest. I've been through worse. I've faced death, and impossible odds before breakfast. I'm still standing because I'm too damn stubborn to quit. The vision of his twisted, dark self reappeared, smirking cruelly at him from atop a mountain of corpses. Satria scoffed, pointing a finger at it. And you seriously? That's supposed to scare me? Bro, you look like an edgy teenager who shops exclusively at Villains R Us. Get out of here with that cheap cosplay. Fatalis blinked, taken aback by his audacity. You're mocking the manifestation of your darkest potential. Mocking it? No, no, Satria said, grinning wider. I'm roasting it. Look, if that's supposed to be my dark side, I'm honestly disappointed. You'd think with all the drama you've got going on here, I'd at least get a cool cloak or something. The oppressive atmosphere of the mindscape began to waver, cracks forming in the illusions as Satria's unshakable confidence tore through them. Fatalis stared at him in stunned silence for a moment before her lips curled into a draconic smile. "You are either the bravest fool I've ever encountered, or the most foolishly brave. Pick one," Satria replied, flashing her a thumbs up. The massive dragon let out a deep, rumbling laugh that reverberated through the realm. "You truly are an anomaly, human. Fine. If you can face your fears without flinching, then perhaps you are worthy." The chains binding Fatalis's true form began to crack, fragments falling away with an echo like thunder. "But heed this, mortal," Fatalis warned as the last of the chains shattered. "My power is not a gift, it is a burden. To wield it, you must accept all that I am, including the darkness." Satria crossed his arms, his smirk softening into a confident grin. "Fatalis, you've been with me this whole time. The good, the bad, the terrifying, you're a part of me. I'm not here to reject you or control you. I'm here to fight with you." As the energy from Fatalis surged through Satria, he stood at the precipice of power, his mindscape swirling with darkness. Fatalis's true form, now unchained, loomed above him like an ancient, unstoppable force. Her fiery red eyes locked onto his with an intensity that could burn through the very fabric of reality. "Repeat after me," she commanded, her voice echoing in the depths of his mind. Satria stood tall, brimming with newfound strength. "Yet, what's next?" "Nothingness is my domain." Fatalis's voice was cold, commanding, yet there was a flicker of something almost amused within her tone. Satria smirked, his voice unwavering as he spoke the words. "Nothingness is my domain. Annihilation is my purpose." Her words resonated like a death knell, and the air around them seemed to tremble. Satria's eyes glinted with determination. "Annihilation is my purpose. Destruction is my dream." Fatalis's voice was like a whisper of the void itself, carrying with it the weight of eternal destruction. Satria's smirk grew, his voice booming with certainty and power as he spoke the final part. "Destruction is my dream." With those final words, an overwhelming surge of dark power consumed him, and the reality of the mindscape began to fracture around him. Back in the real world, Satria's body convulsed, black energy swirling around him. When the transformation was complete, he stood taller, his presence radiating power. His once boyish charm had been replaced with princely elegance, his new form almost too perfect. Captain Marvel stared, her cheeks turning red. "Well, hello, tall, young, and handsome." Thor, still engaged in combat, glanced at Satria. "What happened to you, boy?" Satria smirked. "Let's end this." He pulled out a new card and inserted it into his drag visor. Final vent. A massive black dragon materialized behind him, its roar shaking the battlefield. "Yo, Fatalis," Satria said. "Ready to show them what we can do?" "Absolutely," she replied, her tone gleeful. Satria launched himself into the air, vibrating at high speed as Fatalis unleashed a devastating blast of fire. His rider kick combined with her firepower, creating an overwhelming wave of destruction. The Doom Guard disintegrated into ash, the sheer force of their attack leaving a molten crater in the ground. As the flames subsided, Satria stood amidst the smoldering battlefield. "That was fun," Fatalis said cheerfully before returning to Satria's body. "Yeah," Satria replied, grinning. "But let's not make this a habit." Artoria POV. "Amazing," Captain Marvel muttered, her voice laced with awe as she watched Satria battle. His abilities, his technique, the sheer mastery over his form, everything about him was honed and precise. "Yep, that kid's definitely got what it takes to be a hero around here," Hercules added, his voice filled with admiration as he observed Satria's relentless attacks. Artoria, standing at the edge of the chaos, surveyed the battlefield with a calm but focused demeanor. Her eyes narrowed as she stepped forward, her hand clutching the hilt of Excalibur. Now, it's time to end this. The air seemed to still for a moment as Artoria's sword began to shine with a blinding brilliance, illuminating the darkened battlefield. The light that emanated from the blade wasn't just light, it was something more. The very essence of the legend itself, the embodiment of an undefeated king's will. Thor's eyes widened in disbelief. It can't be, that weapon? Who are you? Artoria turned to face him, her gaze calm yet firm. I am Saber, the servant summoned in Chaldea to protect humanity from extinction. And this is the sword of promised victory. Satria, standing nearby, smirked as he watched the build-up. Finally, she lets out her trump card. Excalibur, the true Excalibur, Fatalis said, a note of anticipation in her voice. It's even more impressive in person. Captain Marvel, for the first time since arriving on this battlefield, found herself speechless. That's so beautiful, she whispered. She had never seen anything like it, a weapon of such sheer power, a king's promise of victory made manifest. From Excalibur's blade, golden particles began to swirl into the air, the very essence of all the warriors who had fought before them, those lost in past battles, those still fighting in the present, and those yet to come. Their will, their memories, all infused into the light. Artoria held the sword high, carrying the weight of countless lives and aspirations. She could feel their presence, mournful, proud, and steadfast. This was the will of all who had fought for what was right, and now it was her responsibility to bring it to fruition. She spoke the name aloud, her voice ringing with conviction. Excalibur. The moment the blade made contact with the undead dragon, the world seemed to halt. There was a flash of light, blinding and all-consuming, and then nothing. The undead dragon, once a terrifying force of death, was gone in an instant, reduced to nothingness by the overwhelming power of Excalibur. The battlefield fell silent. Satria stood still, watching the aftermath with a satisfied grin. We've done it. For now. He turned to Artoria, the power she wielded still palpable in the air. But there's something bigger on the horizon, isn't there? Artoria's eyes remained fixed on the certain spot, her expression unreadable. Yes. The true threat is still out there. To be continued. Chapter 36, Side Story, The Amazing Spider-Man, Part 1. A/N, this side story takes place after Chapter 23. ___________________. Peter Parker had just returned to his own world, utterly exhausted from the ordeal in the ice sadist's world. The moment he stepped into his room, he peeled off his hero costume, wrinkling his nose at the unpleasant smell. The fabric was dirty, stained with blood, and carried a stench that reminded him of the horrors he'd faced. Ugh, this is going to be impossible to clean, Peter muttered, holding up the costume. He sighed, folding it and tossing it into a corner of his room. His stomach churned slightly at the sight of the dried blood. He quickly exited his room, hoping to take a much-needed shower. But before he could escape to the bathroom, Aunt May intercepted him. Peter? Oh my goodness, what is that smell? Aunt May wrinkled her nose in disgust, staring at him with concern. It's awful. Peter scrambled for an excuse. Sorry about that, Aunt May. I've been training really hard, really pushing myself, you know? Guess I worked up a bit of a sweat. He flashed her an awkward smile. Training? Hey. Aunt May raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. Well, young man, you'd better hop in the shower right now. And make sure you scrub properly. Will do. Peter dashed to the bathroom, grateful for the quick escape. As the warm water poured over him, Peter scrubbed himself furiously, desperate to rid himself of the stench. But no matter how much soap he used, the memories wouldn't wash away the images of corpses. The blood and the chaos he had witnessed haunted him. He leaned against the shower wall, his breathing uneven. His stomach twisted, and he barely made it back to his room before he vomited into his wastebasket. Pathetic, Peter muttered to himself, collapsing onto his bed. He stared at the ceiling, his mind replaying the gruesome scenes. What kind of hero am I? He thought bitterly. I'm Spider-Man. I've faced countless villains, fought for the safety of my city, and never backed down. But now, I'm questioning everything. The image of Aunt May flashed in his mind, and a cold fear gripped him. What if my enemies target her? Peter clenched his fists. No, I won't let that happen. I'll protect her no matter what. I'm not doing this to be feared, I'm doing this to give people peace. I want them to feel safe, not afraid. He exhaled deeply, trying to steady his thoughts. Lying on his bed, Peter opened the dimensional chat. A new notification blinked at the top of the screen. Underscore 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 underscore. Spider-Man, excuse me, what is this surprise box? Shin, that's a bonus reward for members who complete missions. Open it, dude. Maybe you'll get something cool. Man with gender equality, I want one too. Shin, then join us on the next quest, dude. It's fun. Man with gender equality, fun? You're insane. I'd die instantly against the kind of monsters you fight. Evil spirit, no one will miss you anyway, Trash Zuma. Why not just go and be useful to us as bait or meat shields? Man with gender equality, you're pure evil. Underscore 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 underscore. Peter chuckled softly at the interaction. These people were strange, but they were starting to feel like a second family to him. All right, let's see what this box is about, Peter muttered, tapping on the notification. Underscore 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 underscore. Congratulations! You have received a summoned servant. Description: summon a random servant from one of 7 classes to aid and protect you. Underscore 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 underscore. Servant. Peter tilted his head in confusion. Suddenly, strange glowing symbols appeared on his hand. A bright light filled his room, and Peter instinctively shielded his eyes. When the light faded, he saw a slender woman with fiery red hair and an air of confidence. She wore an outfit that looked both elegant and practical, with a longbow slung over her back. Servant Archer, Tamlin Tristan, has come in response to your summons. She crossed her arms and smirked. I swear never to bring disgrace upon my knightly name. Peter stared at her, utterly speechless. Yes, he stammered awkwardly. The woman suddenly burst into laughter. Kaya ha ha ha. You don't even know who I am, do you? That's hilarious. You might be fun after all. She grinned and extended a hand. Anyway, let's be friends, partner. I, too, am a champion of justice. Peter hesitated before shaking her hand. What have I summoned into this world? Side end. Chapter 37, Side Story, The Amazing Spider-Man, Part 2. Peter Parker had been through a lot, but this was new. A beautiful girl now stood in his room, her crimson eyes gleaming mischievously as she surveyed her surroundings. Her delicate but confident demeanor screamed otherworldly elegance, contrasting sharply with the chaotic mess of Peter's cramped room. This is a small space, the girl mused, brushing her red hair behind her ear. Tell me, Master, what is your name? Peter blinked, still trying to process everything. Peter. Peter Parker. And. What are you doing in my room? Beoponsith arched an eyebrow, her lips curling into an amused smile. What am I doing? You summoned me, did you not? So I ask again, are you participating in the Holy Grail War? You don't look like a magus. Peter scratched his head, utterly baffled. Holy Grail War? No, I'm not in whatever that is. I, got you as a reward from my dimensional chat group. You're some kind of summoned servant, right? Her confusion deepened. Dimensional chat? Summoned as a reward. She folded her arms, her tone turning skeptical. I've never heard of such nonsense. Peter sighed. Look, it's like a group that connects people from different worlds. We do quests, and I recently finished one. You were part of the reward. That's the truth. Beoponsith mulled over his words before nodding slowly. So, I've been summoned to another world, far from any Grail war. Her crimson eyes narrowed as she studied him. Interesting. Tell me more, Peter Parker. What mission did you complete to earn me? And what exactly are you? Seeing no harm in explaining, Peter recounted the events of his recent mission, battling the terrifying Shigeru Magala alongside Shin and others, narrowly surviving thanks to teamwork and luck. He also shared his life as Spider-Man, his role as a protector, a hero trying to make the world a better place despite personal struggles. When he finished, Beoponsith smirked. So, you're a so-called hero, Fighting beasts and villains to protect the weak. How quaint. Peter frowned. Is there a problem with that? Not at all, she replied, her smirk widening. But let me correct you on one thing. My true name isn't Tristan, Master. It's Beoponsith. Be grateful, for few get to hear it. She leaned closer, her voice dripping with playful menace. And just because I'm your servant doesn't mean I'll obey your every whim. Are we clear, Master? Peter raised his hands defensively. Crystal clear. Trust me, I'm not the type to boss people around. Beopon chuckled. How cute. Take care of me, Peter Parker. I think I'll enjoy this little arrangement of ours. Peter groaned internally. Great. First, a deadly mission, and now I've got a sarcastic, blood-sucking knight as a roommate. What's next? Alien invasions. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden knock at the door. Peter. Aunt May's voice called from the other side. Who are you talking to in there? I thought I heard a girl's voice. Peter froze, his face turning pale. Oh no, he whispered, glancing at Beoponsith. Quick, hide somewhere. If my aunt sees you, she's going to freak out. Beopon grinned wickedly. Oh, what if I tell her we've already done the deed and you've promised to take care of me forever? That could be fun. Peter's jaw dropped. Don't you dare. She laughed softly. Fine, fine. But you owe me, Master. With a snap of her fingers, she vanished into her spirit form, leaving Peter to deal with the situation alone. He took a deep breath and opened the door, trying to look as nonchalant as possible. What's up, Aunt May? Aunt May sniffed the air suspiciously. Who were you talking to? And why does your room smell weird? Peter forced a chuckle. No one. Just practicing lines for a play. Yeah, that's it. And the smell? Must be from my workout gear. May squinted at him but eventually relented. All right, just make sure to clean up before dinner. And your room could use a good airing out. Peter sighed in relief as she walked away. The moment the coast was clear, Beoponsith reappeared, casually draping her arms around Peter's shoulders. Smooth, Master. But you still owe me, she teased. Yeah, Peter muttered, brushing her off. So, what do you want? Her crimson eyes gleamed mischievously. Your blood, of course. Peter stumbled back. Wait, what? Beopon stepped closer, licking her lips. Relax. It won't hurt. Much. Before he could protest further, her fangs sank gently into his neck. A sharp pain shot through him, followed by a strange warmth that made him dizzy. This feels weird. Baopan released him, licking her lips. Delicious. Your blood is exquisite, master. I think I'm going to enjoy keeping you around. Peter slumped onto his bed, his head spinning. You're insane. She giggled. And you're mine now, master. Don't even think about escaping. Understood. Peter groaned. This has to be a dream. A weird, blood-sucking beauty. Baopan simply smirked. Get used to it, master. This is only the beginning. Side end. Chapter 38, Side Story, The Amazing Spider-Man, Part 3. Peter sat at his desk, typing feverishly into his personal computer. The screen was filled with search results about the strange girl now occupying his room, Baopan Sith. His heart skipped a beat as he read the folklore. Baopan Sith, a female fairy from Scottish Highlands, known for their beauty and deadly allure. They seduce their victims before draining their life force. He glanced nervously at the girl lounging on his bed, absorbed in a manga. She's not going to kill me, right? Peter thought, suppressing a shiver. In a moment of desperation, Peter opened a private chat with his new friend. Underscore. Spider-Man, Brother Shin, I need to ask you something. Shin, sure, what's up? Spider-Man, remember the surprise box discussion we had in the group chat? Shin, yup. Did it explode or something? Spider-Man, worse. I summoned someone, and now she's taken over my room. Shin, wait, are you bragging about your new girlfriend? Dude, you should save that for Kazuma or Jiraiya. Spider-Man, no, this is serious. Her name's Baopan Sith. Ever heard of her? Shin, Baopan Sith, wait, does she know about the Holy Grail? Spider-Man, she does. Why? What's going on? Shin, hang tight for a section. I'll look her up. Underscore. Satria's POV. Satria leaned back in his chair. Fatalis, search my memory for information on Baopan Sith. A voice echoed from within. Fatalis, do I look like Google to you? Shut up and get to work, you neat dragon, Satria retorted. Fatalis, neat. You dare call me that, you crybaby puppy. Who are you calling a crybaby puppy, you neat dragon? Get moving. The insults flew until Fatalis grumbled and finally dug through Satria's knowledge. Underscore. Spider-Man, hello? Brother Shin, are you still there? Shin, sorry, technical difficulties. Anyway, here's the deal, Baopan Sith is a member of the Knights of the Round Table from Fey Britain. She assumed the Saint Graph of Tristan and served as a fairy knight. If you want more details, payment is required, preferably a Big Mac and a large Coke. Underscore. Peter sighed and dialed McDonald's. Baopan Sith watched Peter with a raised eyebrow as he hung up. What are you doing, master? She asked suspiciously. Ordering food, Peter replied nonchalantly. For a girl other than me. Her tone turned icy, making Peter sweat. No. It's for someone else. A friend. A male friend. Baopan's eyes narrowed. A male friend? Don't tell me, you walk that path? Is that why you won't share the bed with me? I'm not gay. Peter nearly screamed, his face beet red. Then why the secrecy? It's personal. Baopan grabbed his face, forcing him to look directly at her. Her proximity made Peter's heart race. "Tell me the truth, master," she whispered. "If you do, I'll reward you." Before Peter could stammer out a response, the doorbell rang. "The food's here," he blurted, escaping the room. As he walked to the door, Peter clutched his chest. "Why does my heart race whenever she's close? This is dangerous." Underscore 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 underscore. Peter sent the food to Satria, who replied almost immediately. "Shin, thanks for the offering, dear customer. Now, here's what you need to know. Beoponsith is the daughter of Morgan Le Fay and a former kind-hearted fairy who was betrayed by her people. After being savagely attacked and left limbless, Morgan found her and adopted her. Unfortunately, Morgan was a terrible mother who praised her only when she tormented the weak. Beopon is broken but not beyond repair. And guess what? You might be the one who can fix her." "Spider-Man, thanks, Shin." Underscore 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 underscore. Peter returned to his room with a newfound resolve. Beopon was still sprawled on his bed, giving him a curious look. "What took you so long, master?" "I was thinking about us," Peter said with uncharacteristic seriousness. Beopon smirked. "Oh? About us? Do tell, master." "I've decided," Peter declared. "I'm going to save you and make you happy, no matter what it takes." Beopon blinked, her cheeks tinged pink. "Idiot! What makes you think a small fry like you can save me?" She mocked him, but her voice wavered slightly. Peter smiled confidently. "Because I'm a hero. And I promise, one day, you'll tell me about your past on your own terms." Beopon stared at him for a long moment before turning away. "Do as you wish, you fool. But don't think I'll go easy on you." Peter grinned. "No matter what, I'll protect her smile." Beopon watched Peter from the corner of her eye. "He's a fool," she thought. "Kind, brave, selfless, the kind of idiot who'll get himself killed someday." But for the first time in her life, she felt something unfamiliar, a flicker of warmth. "Maybe I'll help him survive, if only to keep my favorite toy around a little longer." Side end. Chapter 39, Side Story, The Amazing Spider-Man, Part 4. "Peter! What are you doing here?" "I'm here to get you out of this asylum." "But, you're the one who put me here. And with good reason." Dr. Kurt Connors paused, conflicted. "I can't leave. Not like this." Beoponsith observed the exchange with mild curiosity. "Who is this man, master?" "His name is Kurt Connors," Peter explained. "He's the scientist who transformed into the lizard and wreaked havoc on New York City." Connors flinched at the reminder of his dark past. His eyes shifted warily to Beopon. "And who might this young lady be?" "My name is Beoponsith," she said with a sly smile, latching onto Peter's arm. "I'm his owner." Connors blinked, startled. "Owner? Peter, I didn't know you were into that sort of thing." "Kinky?" Peter turned bright red. "No. It's not like that." Beopon smirked, thoroughly enjoying his embarrassment. "Isn't it, though? Can we not do this right now?" Peter huffed. "Time's running out, Connors. Something bad is happening, something really bad." Peter and Beopon walked through Midtown Manhattan, heading toward Oscorp Tower. The daylight did little to ease Peter's nerves. "Master, what do you think about me?" Beopon asked out of the blue, her tone deceptively casual. Peter looked at her warily. "You're, beautiful, Beopon. But can you not stand so close to me?" "Why not?" she asked, leaning in closer. "Do you hate me?" Peter sighed. "No, I don't hate you. It's just, I'm not used to being treated like this by, well, girls. Baopan chuckled, a mischievous glint in her eyes. What a shy little boy you are, master. Don't worry, this big sister will take good care of you. Can you not call yourself my big sister? And stop patting my head. People are staring. Peter groaned as passers-by gave them amused glances. As they approached Oscorp Tower, Peter stopped. Baopan, hide your presence. We don't need any complications. As you wish, master, she said, vanishing into her spirit form. Inside the tower, Peter was greeted by Gwen Stacy, who was already waiting for him. Thanks for coming with me, Peter, Gwen said with a nervous smile. You're brave to even step into Oscorp again. Yet, well, you twisted my arm, Peter joked, though his humor felt forced. As they made their way through the building, Peter suddenly froze. On a nearby wall, words written in blood appeared. I'm watching you, master, smiley face. Peter's heart raced, but when Gwen turned to see what he was looking at, the writing was gone. Peter, she asked, concerned. And nothing, he stammered, trying to shake off the unease. They arrived at a heavily secured lab, where Peter and Gwen witnessed a horrifying sight, a humanoid rhino-like creature, trapped behind an invisible energy barrier. Armed guards monitored the creature, occasionally using shock batons to keep it subdued. What the hell is that? Peter whispered. Oh my god, Gwen gasped. This could be proof they're continuing Connor's work. The creature roared, slamming into the barrier. Gwen stumbled back, nearly falling. Are you all right? Came a voice. Dr. Alistair Smythe entered the room, offering Gwen a hand. Dr. Smythe, thank you, Gwen said, regaining her composure. Smythe's gaze shifted to Peter. And you are? Peter Parker, Gwen introduced. Smythe extended a hand. Ah, the infamous Peter Parker. I've heard about you. Peter hesitated but shook his hand. And I've heard a lot about you tonight, he replied coolly. Smythe ignored the comment. Gwen, you're not supposed to be here after hours, especially with a guest. I'm sorry, Dr. Smythe, Gwen apologized. But we found something troubling. She gestured to the rhino creature. Smythe sighed, rubbing his temples. Gwen, I've told you the cross-species experiments are over. What you see here is the result of failed projects we're trying to clean up. Peter narrowed his eyes. Failed projects? So there are more of these things. Reluctantly, Smythe led them to a larger room. Peter's stomach turned as he saw rows of cages, each housing grotesque, animalistic hybrids, creatures that were once animals but had been twisted with human DNA. This is wrong, Gwen whispered. Smythe's smile was tight. Trust me, we're doing everything we can to contain this mess. Oscorp's future lies in erasing its mistakes. Baopan's voice echoed in Peter's mind. Master, this man is lying. He reeks of deceit. I know, Peter replied silently. We'll get the proof we need and stop him. Smythe continued to lead them through the lab, oblivious to the two teenagers' growing distrust. Keep everything you've seen tonight in the strictest confidence, Smythe warned as he opened another door. Oscorp's reputation and humanity's future depend on it. Peter clenched his fists. Yeah, I bet it does. Side end. Chapter 40, Side Story, The Amazing Spider-Man, Part 5. Peter Parker, Gwen, and Dr. Smythe entered a large glass enclosure housing humanoid rat-like cross-species creatures. The atmosphere was tense, the air filled with faint hisses and guttural growls. Hello, little fella. Peter waved cheerfully at one of the creatures. The creature hissed and leapt upward, vanishing into the shadows above. Why are these creatures caged here, Dr. Smythe? Gwen asked, her curiosity tinged with unease. These creatures are extremely contagious, Smythe explained. Direct contact can result in a deadly infection or transform a human into one of them. We're working tirelessly to find a solution, Miss Stacy. Is there a cure for them? Peter asked, his tone laced with genuine concern. For these things? No. Smythe's voice was clinical. They're not human, they were created in petri dishes. However, for infected humans, we've made attempts, but progress has been less than ideal. As Smythe paused to sign off on some documents handed to him by his staff, Peter and Gwen exchanged uneasy glances. Nearby, Beopan Sith, concealed from human sight, glared icily at Smythe. This wretched man is no different from the others, she thought. They always fear what they don't understand. They don't deserve someone like Master as their protector. These creatures brought Europe to its knees during the plague, Smythe continued, gesturing toward the cage. Such vermin deserve nothing but extermination. Suddenly, the rat-like creature reappeared, leaping down and baring its teeth at Peter. Whoa! Easy there, buddy, Peter said, stepping back. Why is it acting like that? Gwen asked, perplexed by its aggression. Probably can't resist my good looks, Peter quipped, hoping to lighten the mood. Unlike robots, biological creatures are unpredictable, Smythe remarked coldly. That's why I prefer things I can control. Peter raised an eyebrow. Unpredictable, hey? He muttered sarcastically, sensing Smythe's underlying motivations. At Peter's side, Beopan whispered, Master, I don't like him. Shall I kill him for you? No, Beopan. You can't just go around killing people. Peter hissed. You're no fun, she pouted, crossing her arms. The group descended in an elevator, passing other cross-species in containment humanoid scorpions and iguanas suspended in test tubes. Is that an iguana? This is officially the weirdest tour I've ever been on, Peter muttered after seeing a humanoid lizard inside the tube. Don't worry, Smythe reassured him. Our next stop, the nanobot lab, will blow you away. Beopan's gaze lingered on the specimens. Humans have become so inventive, she murmured. These creatures remind me of the beasts from my time. Peter tilted his head. Wait, you're saying the mythical creatures from fairy tales are real? Of course, she replied with a smirk. Having me as your servant is proof enough. Since when are you my servant? Peter shot back. Since you summoned me, obviously, she teased. Gwen gave Peter a confused glance. Who are you talking to? Before Peter could respond, a scientist interrupted, asking Smythe to sign off on a transfer. Smythe turned to Gwen. Perhaps you can help with this bureaucratic nonsense, Miss Stacy. Consider it punishment for trespassing. Gwen frowned but nodded. Fine. Peter's spider sense flared as he volunteered. I'll go with her. Someone has to make sure she doesn't get eaten. Beopan smirked. Worried about her? How bold of you, Master. Shall I tell her you're a secret playboy? Please, Beopan, just help her for me, Peter pleaded. After some teasing, Beopan reluctantly agreed. Smythe smiled faintly. Beauty does have a way of attracting protectors. Meet me in the lab when you're done and don't wander off. As they left, Gwen sighed. I don't get it. Why are you so skeptical about Dr. Smythe? He's trying to put an end to all this. Peter frowned. I don't trust him. Something feels off. Before Gwen could respond, one of the cross-species, a humanoid scorpion, suddenly awoke, thrashing inside its containment tube. What the? Peter stepped back as cracks formed in the glass. It's your blood! Gwen exclaimed. No way! It's reacting to something else. Oh no, it's breaking out. Peter's alarm grew as his dimensional chat buzzed. Underscore. Dimensional chat mission activated. Objective: defeat all cross-species and stop Smythe's nanorobots. Participants, 0/3. Spider-Man, my luck is terrible today. Pervert Sage, who's joining this mission? Shin, pass. Busy with my wife. Kazuma-sama, stop showing off. Let me join. I need those OP rewards. 1/3. Evil Spirit, Era, count me in, Peter Kun. 2/3. Batman Jr., I'll join. Time to compare worlds. 3/3. Underscore. The scorpion cross-species broke free, killing nearby scientists. Alarms blared as Smythe barked orders for evacuation. Gwen locked Peter in a secure room. Stay here, Peter. This is my responsibility. No. I'm not leaving you. Peter shouted as the glass door sealed. Nearby, the humanoid mutant cornered Gwen. Get away from her. Peter shouted, but his cries were unheard. Just as the beast lunged, Baopan appeared, crimson strings slicing through the air. The creature froze mid-attack before collapsing lifelessly. Who are you? Gwen stammered, staring at the red-haired woman. Baopan Sith, Fey Knight of Tristan, she replied smoothly. And his servant. She gestured toward Peter. Gwen blinked in disbelief as Baopan smirked. Now, little lady, step back. Let me handle this. Side end. Chapter 41, Side Story, The Amazing Spider-Man, Part 6. The remaining cross-species panicked as they witnessed one of their own being killed mercilessly by Baopan Sith. In fear, they scattered, disappearing into the shadows. Baopan Sith turned toward Gwen, her crimson eyes gleaming. You killed it? Why? And who are you? Gwen stammered, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and curiosity. Baopan sighed dramatically. Humans these days. A simple thank you would suffice. But alas, manners are scarce. Can you at least do me a favor and free him? She pointed toward Peter, who was locked behind the reinforced glass door. Gwen hesitated but eventually nodded. Entering the code on the keypad, she released Peter. Thanks for saving her, Baopan. Really, you're a lifesaver, Peter said earnestly as he stepped out. Baopan smirked. No need for thanks, Master. Just remember your promise. Her tone carried a playful warning. Promise? What promise? Gwen raised an eyebrow, looking suspiciously between the two. Peter scratched the back of his neck nervously. It's a long story, Gwen. Before Gwen could probe further, Peter's dimensional chat buzzed. He glanced at it. Underscore. Batman Jr., where are you, at Spider? Spider-Man, still inside Oscorp building. Where are you guys? Kazuma-sama, outside the building. Oh, and by the way, monsters are already running wild in the city. Evil Spirit, shall I come rescue you, Peter Kun? Spider-Man, no need, Kurumi. I'll handle things here. Just wait for me outside. Batman Jr., alright, but hurry. Things are getting worse. Underscore. Peter pocketed his device and turned to Baopan and Gwen. The cross-species have escaped the building. We need to stop them before the virus spreads. Gwen's eyes widened. If we don't act quickly, the entire city could be at risk. Let's go. Peter donned his Spider-Man costume, then knelt before Gwen. Hop on. I'll get you somewhere safe first. Gwen hesitated for only a moment before climbing onto his back, wrapping her arms around his neck. As Peter stood, he noticed Baopan glaring at him, her lips curling into a not-so-pleasant smile. Something wrong? He asked, his voice tinged with unease. Baopan chuckled, though it wasn't comforting. "Oh, nothing. Just wondering." As they moved through the building, a spider-shaped security robot suddenly descended from the ceiling, its cold, mechanical voice announcing, "Cross-species detected. Engage." The robot fired a laser beam at Peter, who narrowly dodged thanks to his spider sense. Beopan, observing the scene, sighed. "Machines. Annoying and lifeless. My powers are wasted on them." Despite this, she summoned her blood wires, ensnaring the robot in crimson threads. With a sharp pull, she crushed it into a heap of sparking metal. Peter grinned. "Thanks for the assist, Beopan. Don't get careless, Master. We need to get your girlfriend to safety." Her tone dripped with thinly veiled jealousy. Peter sighed. "She's not my girlfriend, Beopan." "Oh? Then why does she know your identity?" Beopan retorted, crossing her arms. Peter groaned, sensing this wasn't a battle he could win. "I'm sorry, okay? Whatever I did, I'm sorry." "You're forgiven," Beopan said with a sly grin, "but only if you promise to never look at another woman without my approval." Okay." Peter replied, bewildered. After navigating through traps and security measures, Peter finally carried Gwen to a quarantine room. "You'll be safe here," he assured her as he gently set her down on a bed. "Thank you, Peter. And thank you too, Miss Beopan, for saving my life." Beopan nodded gracefully. "It's my duty as his servant, and his owner." Peter sighed at her usual antics but focused on Gwen. "What should I do now?" "You need to find Dr. Smythe. He might have answers," Gwen said, though her voice betrayed doubt. Peter frowned, recalling the dimensional chat mission. Smythe was likely part of the problem, not the solution. "I'll try. But first, how can we stop the virus from spreading?" "There's no antidote yet," Gwen admitted. "The virus has mutated. It's not like Dr. Connor's serum, it's far more dangerous." Peter nodded solemnly. "All right. I'll figure something out. I promise." ________________________ Spider-Man, guys, be careful. These cross-species carry a deadly virus. Don't engage recklessly. Kazuma-sama, wait, what? A virus? Am I going to turn into some freaky animal? Spider-Man, either that or, you die. So yeah, be careful. Batman Jr., thanks for the warning. Spider-Man, Shin, any advice? Shin, use Kurumi's ability to create clones to analyze their patterns. Then contact Dr. Connors to help create an antidote. And, of course, stop Smythe. Spider-Man, thanks, Shin. I owe you one. ________________________ Gwen handed Peter a sleek device from the table. Take this. It's an Oscorp prototype called the OS phone. I can use it to contact you. Peter took the device and smiled. Thanks. I'll be back soon. Beopan, can you stay and protect Gwen for me? Beopan grinned. Of course. I'd like to get to know Miss Gwen better. Don't do anything weird, okay? Peter pleaded. Beopan feigned innocence. Me? Weird? Never. Goodbye, Gwen. Stay safe. As Peter left, Gwen shifted nervously under Beopan's gaze. Now, my dear Gwen, Beopan began with a mischievous smile, why don't we get to know each other? Gwen swallowed hard. Sure. That sounds nice. Side end. Chapter 42, Side Story, The Amazing Spider-Man, Part 7. Outside Oscorp, the group had gathered, Spider-Man in his red and blue suit, Kurumi leaning casually against a lamppost with her signature smirk, Dick Grayson, Batman Jr., checking his gadgets, and Kazuma slouching while complaining. "All right," Peter began, addressing the group. "We've got a serious problem. 4 cross-species have escaped: vermin, rhino, scorpion, and others. Each of them is infected with a deadly virus that can spread to humans." Kazuma raised his hand lazily. "Yeah, I'm a regular dude. So don't expect me to charge headfirst into battle. I'm strictly support." Kurumi giggled. "Oh, but Kazuma-san, do you want a delicate woman like me to be in front and protecting you? You really are a gentleman. In my dictionary, men and women are equal. After all, I'm a follower of gender equality and I don't want to die," Kazuma said with a straight face. Peter, standing with his arms crossed, cut in. "We don't have time for bickering. We need to strategize. Vermin, rhino, and scorpion aren't just dangerous because of their strength, they're spreading this virus everywhere they go." "Agreed," Dick Grayson said, pacing. "Here's what we know about each of them. Vermin, fast, aggressive, and able to command rats. He's likely hiding in the sewers or underground areas. Rhino, pure brute force. Once he gets going, nothing can stop him. He'll be heading for open spaces where he can cause the most destruction. Scorpion, agile and venomous. He'll probably stay in high places, waiting for an ambush." Kurumi tilted her head thoughtfully. 3 very different hunting styles. How do you propose we handle them, Peter-kun? Peter nodded and activated a hologram on his OS phone, showing a map of the city. We'll split into teams to maximize efficiency. Here's the plan. Kurumi and Kazuma, you two will go after vermin. Kurumi, your clone abilities and time manipulation make you perfect for handling his speed and rat swarms. Kazuma, you'll coordinate traps and environmental hazards to corner him. Dick and me, will take on Rhino. He's a walking tank, but if we outmaneuver him and use his strength against him, we can bring him down. Kazuma groaned. Wait, why am I with Kurumi? She's terrifying. Kurumi smirked. Oh, don't worry, Kazuma-san. I'll protect you, or at least make sure you have a front row seat to the chaos. Peter ignored the banter. Finally, once Rhino and Vermin are taken care of, we'll regroup to deal with Scorpion together. He's too unpredictable to take on solo. Dick nodded approvingly. Good plan, Spider. I'll set up drones to track their movements and relay any changes in their locations. Peter clapped his hands together. All right, let's move. Time is running out. Kurumi and Kazuma made their way into the city's underground sewer system. The air was damp, and the faint sound of rats skittering echoed through the tunnels. Kazuma shivered. Why do I always end up in the gross places? Why couldn't we trade? I would have taken Rhino. Kurumi walked confidently, her red and black clock eye glowing faintly. Oh, Kazuma-san, you should feel honored to be with me. Besides, I find this little game of hide-and-seek quite amusing. Suddenly, Vermin appeared from the shadows, his grotesque rat-like form snarling. You dare enter my domain? This city belongs to me now. Kurumi smiled darkly. Oh, this will be fun. She summoned her flintlock pistols and began firing precise shots, forcing Vermin to retreat deeper into the tunnels. Don't just stand there, Kazuma. Kurumi shouted. Kazuma muttered, why me, before activating his create water skill, sending a flood down the tunnel to slow Vermin's escape. There, happy. Quite, Kurumi replied, sending a clone ahead to cut off Vermin's escape route. Meanwhile, Peter and Dick tracked Rhino to a construction site. The massive brute was smashing through steel beams, roaring with frustration. Spider! Rhino bellowed. Come out and face me, coward! Peter turned to Dick. We need to lure him into a trap. Got any ideas? Dick smirked. Plenty. He threw a series of explosive batarangs, creating a controlled collapse of debris around Rhino, limiting his movement. Rhino charged at them, but Peter swung in and shot webbing at his eyes, temporarily blinding him. Over here, big guy. Peter taunted, dodging Rhino's wild punches. Keep him busy, Dick said, setting up a sonic device. This should disrupt his balance long enough to take him down. The plan worked, the sonic waves disoriented Rhino, and Peter used the opportunity to web him to the ground. 1 down, 2 to go, Peter said, high-fiving Dick. After regrouping, the team tracked Scorpion to the top of a skyscraper. The villain hissed, his poisonous tail swaying menacingly. You've come far, Spider-Man, too bad you won't go any further. Scorpion lunged at Peter, who barely dodged. Careful! Dick warned, throwing smoke pellets to obscure Scorpion's vision. Kurumi appeared out of the shadows with a clone, firing shots to force Scorpion into the open. Kazuma, hiding behind a barrier, used his steel skill to momentarily disarm Scorpion's tail mechanism. Kurumi appeared out of the shadows with a clone, firing shots to force Scorpion into the open. Kazuma, hiding behind a barrier, used his steel skill to momentarily disarm Scorpion's tail mechanism. What the? Scorpion hissed, now vulnerable. Peter capitalized, webbing Scorpion's limbs and pinning him to the rooftop. That's game over for you. With the cross-species captured, the group reconvened at Oscorp to secure the containment protocols. Gwen contacted Peter through the OS phone. Did you catch them? Yeah, all wrapped up, Peter replied. But now we need to figure out how to stop the virus completely. Kurumi stretched. That was entertaining. Let's do it again sometime. Kazuma slumped. Let's not. Dick smirked. Good work, everyone. Now, what's our next move? Kurumi leaned against a railing, her dark, teasing smile playing across her lips. You know, she began, twirling her flintlock pistol in her hand, it would save us all a lot of trouble if we just killed them. The casualness of her tone sent a chill through the group. Kazuma nearly dropped his water bottle. Wait, what? Are you crazy? You can't just go around suggesting stuff like that. Kurumi raised an eyebrow at him. Oh, please. These creatures are nothing but walking disasters. They're infected, dangerous, and let's be honest, nobody's going to miss them. Killing them now would save us from future headaches. Dick Grayson, now standing between Kurumi and the restrained cross-species, spoke firmly. No. That's not how we do things. Kurumi tilted her head, her golden clock eye glinting mischievously. And why not? Are you really going to waste more time, risk more lives, just to let these monsters breathe a little longer? Dick's expression hardened. We're heroes. Not executioners. We protect life even when it's complicated or dangerous. If we kill them, we're no better than the villains we fight. The tension was thick. Kazuma awkwardly shuffled backward, not wanting to get involved, while Spider-Man watched the exchange silently, his mask hiding his worried frown. Kurumi chuckled softly, her smirk widening. Heroes, hey? You and I are not the same, Batman Jr. You talk about honor and morality, but I prefer results. Why let them live, knowing they'll only bring harm? Dick stepped closer, his stance unwavering. Because redemption is possible. We've seen it before, and we'll see it again. If we give up on them, we give up on what makes us better. Kurumi's smirk faltered for a moment, a flicker of something unreadable crossing her face, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. So idealistic, she said, her voice laced with sarcasm. Fine, play your little hero game. But don't come crying to me when this decision backfires. Before the argument could escalate further, Spider-Man stepped between them, holding up his hands. Enough, both of you. Peter's voice was calm but firm. Kurumi, he said, turning to her. I get it. You're pragmatic, and I know you think this is the quickest solution. But we can't just take lives because it's convenient. Kurumi crossed her arms, her smirk returning. So what's your brilliant plan, Peter-kun? Peter gestured to the subdued cross-species. We're going to contain them and find a cure for the virus. Dr. Connors is already working on an antidote, and I trust him to come through. Kurumi sighed dramatically. Such a waste of effort. But fine, I'll play nice for now. Peter then turned to Dick. And you, thanks for standing your ground, but let's focus on what's next. We've got bigger problems ahead, like Smythe and the virus itself. Dick nodded, his serious demeanor softening slightly. Agreed. Let's move. Kazuma exhaled loudly. Thank God that's over. I thought we were about to have a villain-on-villain showdown. Kurumi glanced at him, her smirk sharp. Oh, don't tempt me, Kazuma-san. He immediately backed away. Nope. Not getting involved. Side end. Chapter 43, Side Story, The Amazing Spider-Man, Part 8. Baopon Sith leaned against the Oscorp lab counter, watching as Gwen and Dr. Connors worked tirelessly on the antidote for the cross-species outbreak. The sound of clinking vials and the hum of the lab equipment filled the air as Gwen meticulously recorded the formula on a tablet, her focus unwavering. Dr. Connors glanced at Gwen with admiration. You're brilliant, Gwen. Without your expertise, we wouldn't have gotten this far. Gwen offered him a polite smile. Thank you, Dr. Connors, but it's a team effort. We wouldn't be here without your knowledge. Baopon smirked, her crimson eyes observing Gwen's every move. She's quite remarkable, isn't she? Peter certainly has a knack for surrounding himself with extraordinary people. Dr. Connors nodded. Peter's influence has a way of bringing out the best in others. But Gwen's determination goes beyond that. She genuinely cares. Baopon stepped closer, her voice laced with curiosity. You seem quite dedicated, Gwen. What drives you? Is it just the science or something more? Gwen hesitated, her hands pausing as she adjusted a vial. It's Peter, she admitted softly. He's been through so much, and he always puts others first. I just want to make sure he's okay. He deserves some peace after everything he's sacrificed. Baopon's expression softened, a rare moment of genuine warmth crossing her face. You're a good person, Gwen. Peter is lucky to have you by his side. Dr. Connors chimed in, his voice thoughtful. Peter inspires loyalty and compassion in those who know him. But Gwen, your care for him goes deeper than most. It's admirable. Gwen smiled faintly, the blush creeping onto her cheeks again. I just want him to be happy. Baopon tilted her head, a mischievous glint in her eyes. How sweet. If you want, we can share him. Gwen's head snapped up, her face flushed crimson. What? Baopon chuckled, clearly enjoying Gwen's flustered reaction. Relax, dear. I'm only teasing, mostly. But it's clear how much you care for him. That alone earns my respect. Dr. Connors raised an eyebrow at Baopon, shaking his head with a faint smile. You have a unique way of showing respect. Baopon smirked. Oh, I'm just here to keep things interesting. Gwen, still flustered, focused on her work with renewed vigor. Peter sure knows how to surround himself with colorful personalities, she muttered. Baopon let out a melodic laugh, placing a reassuring hand on Gwen's shoulder. You're doing an amazing job, Gwen. Peter's happiness and safety is in good hands with you. Dr. Connors cleared his throat, redirecting the group's attention. We're nearly there. Let's focus. The antidote isn't going to make itself. The three returned to their work, the banter fading into silence as the weight of their mission settled back over them. The cozy warmth of Aunt May's house had never felt so chaotic. Peter Parker stood awkwardly in the living room, surrounded by his unusual guests, Baopon Sith, Kurumi, Kazuma, and Dick Grayson. Aunt May stood at the doorway, her arms crossed and a curious expression on her face as she scanned the eclectic group. "So," Aunt May started, her voice calm but firm. "Care to explain what you brought into my house, Peter?" Peter scratched the back of his neck, glancing nervously at his friends. Well, it's kind of a long story, Aunt May." "It better be, young man. And it better include why these very unique individuals don't seem to have proper identification or money to stay at a hotel." Before Peter could respond, a flash of light burst beside him. Baopon Sith appeared, teleporting into the room with an ethereal grace that left everyone stunned except Peter, who nearly jumped out of his skin. "Master, my dear," Baopon said with a playful smirk, her red eyes glinting. "I thought it best to join you here. You weren't planning on starting without me, were you?" Kurumi, seated on the couch with her teacup poised, raised an eyebrow. "You certainly know how to make an entrance," she said, amused. Kazuma let out a tired sigh from the armchair. "Why is it always magic teleporters that make everything dramatic?" Dick Grayson, perched on the windowsill, smirked but said nothing, clearly enjoying Peter's predicament. Aunt May, however, wasn't amused. She blinked at Baopon, her eyes narrowing. "Peter Benjamin Parker, you are going to explain everything. Right now." Peter gulped, throwing a helpless glance at his guests before turning to his aunt. Okay, Aunt May, look. I can explain. They're, friends from a different world. Literally." Aunt May raised an eyebrow. "Different world?" Peter sighed, knowing there was no easy way to break it. "Yet. They don't have IDs or money because they're not from here. They're kind of displaced. And I thought it'd be safer for them to stay here. Just for a little while." May stared at him, her expression unreadable. "And you're telling me all of this now because I didn't want to worry you," Peter said sheepishly. "Too late for that," May muttered before folding her arms. Her eyes landed on Baopon Sith, who was standing unusually close to Peter. "And what about her?" Peter froze. What about her? What's your relationship with her, Peter?" May asked, her voice sharp with curiosity. Before Peter could even begin to stammer out a response, Baopon suddenly draped herself around him, her arms wrapping possessively over his shoulders. She leaned her head against his, a sly smirk playing on her lips. "He's mine," Baopon said matter-of-factly, her tone a mix of teasing and deadly serious. The room fell silent. Kazuma choked on his drink, sputtering. "Wait, what?" Kurumi burst into laughter, holding her stomach. "Oh my, how bold! I didn't think you'd claim him so publicly." Dick raised an eyebrow but wisely stayed quiet, his amusement barely hidden. Peter, on the other hand, was frozen in place, his face bright red. "Baopon! What are you doing?" "Only stating the truth," Baopon said with a pleased hum, tightening her hold. "You're my master, after all. Why should I hide it?" Aunt May blinked, then blinked again. She pinched the bridge of her nose, muttering under her breath. "This is too much for me." She sighed and looked at Peter. "You're going to explain this in detail, young man. Every single bit of it. But first..." She gestured toward Baopon. "Let the poor boy breathe, dear." Reluctantly, Baopon loosened her grip, though her mischievous grin remained. "I promise, Aunt May, I'll explain everything," Peter said, still red-faced but grateful for the slight reprieve. "Just, please don't freak out too much." "No promises," May said flatly before heading to the kitchen. "I'll make tea. It looks like I'm going to need it." As the door swung shut behind her, Kurumi chuckled. "Well, that was entertaining. Peter groaned, burying his face in his hands. This is a disaster. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Baopan said, patting his head. She'll come around. After all, I'm quite charming. Peter sighed, slumping onto the couch. I'm doomed. Peter sat on the couch, his hands clasped tightly as he prepared himself to drop what he knew would be a bombshell. His friends Baopan Sith, Kurumi, Kazuma, and Dick Grayson sat around the living room, while Aunt May stood by the doorway with her arms crossed, waiting for an explanation. All right, Aunt May, Peter began, his voice cautious but firm. You deserve the truth, so here it is. I'm Spider-Man. The room went quiet. Even Kurumi, who rarely showed surprise, tilted her head with interest at Peter's sudden confession. Aunt May stared at him, her face a mixture of disbelief and shock. Peter, what? May finally asked, her voice almost a whisper. Peter took a deep breath. I've been Spider-Man for a while now. You know, the guy in the red and blue suit swinging around New York and fighting bad guys? That's me. Aunt May blinked a few times, then sat down in the armchair across from him. You're serious? Dead serious, Peter replied, his tone unwavering. And these are my friends, but not from here. They're part of something called a dimensional chat group. Think of it like a cross-dimensional online community where heroes, like me, can connect. Kazuma raised a hand casually. Yep, I'm one of those friends. Came here because things were getting boring in my world. Plus, your Peter here is always in trouble, so I figured I'd help. Help? Really? Peter quipped, rolling his eyes. Kurumi chuckled softly, swirling her teacup. I find it fascinating to watch your world's chaos. Though I must admit, I came here more for the entertainment. Peter sighed. Anyway, most of them are here temporarily. But Baopan? He glanced at the vampire sitting smugly beside him. She's different. Baopan leaned closer, her crimson eyes glinting mischievously. I was summoned to this world as a reward for my master heroic efforts. A familiar spirit, if you will. Though, I prefer to think of myself as his partner. Reward? Aunt May asked, her eyes narrowing. And what exactly does that mean? Peter flushed slightly. It's complicated. But she's here to help. Most of the time. Baopan smirked. I'm always helpful, Master. Peter ignored her playful jab and continued. Here's the problem, though. Someone in this world, Alistair Smythe, is hunting me. He's made it his mission to exterminate anyone he considers a cross-species, which is basically people like me who gained their powers from something outside the norm, like my spider bite. Aunt May's face hardened. And he's dangerous. Very, Peter admitted. Smythe's not just a scientist. He's created an army of robots specifically designed to hunt and kill people like me. He thinks cross-species are a threat to humanity. Kurumi's smile faded slightly, and her voice turned icy. He sounds like a problem we'll have to deal with sooner rather than later. Kazuma nodded. Great. Just what I wanted, another maniac with robots trying to kill us. Can't we catch a break? Aunt May looked at Peter, her voice trembling slightly. And you've been dealing with all of this alone? Not anymore, Peter said, his voice resolute. I've got them now. And I'm not letting Smythe hurt anyone else, especially you, Aunt May. May exhaled deeply, her stern demeanor softening. Peter. I don't like this. I hate the idea of you being in danger. But if this is who you are, I'm proud of you. Just promise me you'll be careful. Peter nodded. I promise. Baopan suddenly stood and wrapped her arms around Peter's shoulders. Don't worry, dear May. I'll protect our precious Peter. He's mine, after all. Aunt May raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed by Baopan's theatrics. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, young lady. Kurumi giggled, sipping her tea. Oh, this is going to be an entertaining stay. Peter sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Why do I feel like I'm already regretting this? Dick, who had been silent until now, gave Peter a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Welcome to the world of complicated house guests. Peter groaned. Yep. Just what I needed. The morning sunlight filtered through the windows of Peter Parker's modest home, casting a warm glow over the gathering of friends in the living room. Peter sat cross-legged on the floor, Beoponsith perched on the couch with her legs tucked beneath her, and Kurumi lazily leaned against the wall, sipping tea. Dick Grayson stood by the window, observing the cityscape, while Kazuma was sprawled on the recliner, munching on a bag of chips. Laughter filled the air as they shared stories from their adventures. Their banter was cut short when an urgent news report appeared on the TV. The anchor's voice trembled as footage showed an army of sleek, deadly robots marching through the streets, firing on civilians and destroying property. This is Smythe's doing, Peter muttered, his fists clenching. The broadcast switched to a live feed of Alistair Smythe addressing the world from one of his massive robots. For too long, humanity has been plagued by these unnatural creatures. Cross-species abominations, mutants, inhuman beasts. They are threats to our survival, and I will save humanity from their tyranny. Smythe declared, his voice brimming with conviction and madness. Peter stood abruptly, his jaw tightening. He's targeting cross-species again. This isn't just about me. It's about everyone who doesn't fit his definition of human. Beoponsith's eyes narrowed. If he thinks he can play God, he's in for a rude awakening. Kurumi cracked her knuckles. Shall we put an end to this farce? I'm ready when you are, Dick said, adjusting his utility belt. Kazuma groaned but stood. Ugh, fine. But if this turns into another near-death experience, I'm charging you interest, Parker. Peter smirked beneath his mask as he pulled it over his face. Let's move out. The city was chaos. Smythe's hunter robots were everywhere, indiscriminately targeting anyone deemed inhuman. The group split up to handle different threats, coordinating their efforts through their communicators. Peter swung through the chaos, disabling as many robots as he could with his webs. These things are tough, he muttered, dodging a laser blast. Beoponsith darted between robots, her agility and inhuman strength tearing through metal with precision. I'll admit, this is almost fun, she said, flashing a grin. Kurumi used her time manipulation abilities to slow down the robot's movements, allowing Dick to leap in and dismantle them with a flurry of acrobatic strikes. Kazuma, grumbling the entire time, strategically used his steel ability to disarm the robots of their weapons, leaving them vulnerable. As the team made progress, Peter noticed the largest robot in the distance, towering over the city. Smythe sat within its cockpit, his voice amplified for all to hear. You will thank me when this is over. Smythe roared. I do this for humanity. So we don't have to rely on inhuman beasts. Peter swung toward the giant robot, his voice sharp with anger. They're living beings too, Smythe. You don't get to decide who's worthy of life. The massive robot unleashed a barrage of missiles, but Peter nimbly dodged and landed on its shoulder. He began tearing into the armor with his webbing and strength, forcing his way inside. Hang on, Peter, Dick's voice crackled over the comm. No time. Peter shouted back. I've got this. Inside the robot, Peter navigated the maze of machinery, evading security drones and sabotaging key systems as he went. Sparks flew, and alarms blared, but Peter pressed on, his resolve unshaken. Finally, he reached the core. Using every ounce of his strength, he ripped out the central power supply, causing the massive robot to shut down and collapse. Peter emerged from the wreckage, carrying a battered and defeated Smythe. You think you've won? Smythe spat, his voice weak but defiant. Humanity will thank me someday. Peter set him down as police surrounded them. "You're wrong, Smythe," he said quietly. "Humanity is better when it embraces everyone, not just the ones you approve of." As Smythe was taken into custody, Peter looked at his friends, who had regrouped nearby. "Good work, team," Peter said, his voice tired but relieved. Beoponsith smirked. "Not bad, master. But next time, try not to hog all the glory." Kurumi chuckled. "Or at least leave some dramatic explosions for us." Peter laughed softly, shaking his head. "I'll keep that in mind. Underscore 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 underscore. Mission complete. Rewards: 2,500 for Spider-Man plus 1 surprise box. 2,000 for Evil Spirits plus 1 surprise box. 2,000 for Batman Jr. plus 1 surprise box. 2,000 for Kazuma-sama plus 1 surprise box. Underscore 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 underscore. The city was safe again, at least for now. But Peter knew their work was far from over. Side end. Chapter 44, Chapter 36. True Terror. New York, United States. "That was amazing!" Hercules exclaimed, his broad grin lighting up his face as he approached Artoria. "I can't believe I had the honor of witnessing the wielder of Excalibur in action. My name is Hercules, the god of strength. Perhaps we could get to know each other better after this war, Lady Saber." He gave a wink, brimming with confidence. Artoria kept her expression steady, though her tone carried a firm edge. "I'm sorry, but I have no interest in forming relationships right now." Hercules blinked, surprised but respectful, his grin turning sheepish. "I see. How unfortunate," he muttered, stepping back with a disappointed shrug. Elsewhere. Inside a hidden chat group reserved for an enigmatic collection of observers, their reactions poured in. Underscore 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 underscore. "Ice sadist, so, this is the power of the King of Knights? Intriguing. I'd love to fight her someday. Phew phew phew. Batman Jr., I can't decide who to watch, they were incredible. The King of Knights, Shin, and Patroness stole the show. Kazuma-sama, damn it. That weird guy got even more handsome than before. And Artoria-san, she's just so cool. Evil Spirit, anything fun happening? Ice sadist, you missed a spectacle. Catch up later. But Patroness, his power fascinates me. I want to see more of him." Underscore 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 underscore. "All right, let's head to the portal and help out," Captain Marvel said with resolve. She soared into the air, joined by Hercules and Thor, their figures cutting